Okay, Eric, welcome back on
Great
Twitch.
to be back on the interwebs.
Yeah.
Go, 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 says Joshua.
Oh, Street Photography Workshop, Day 2 with Eric Kim. And so let us know in the chat who was already with us yesterday for the first day of Eric's workshop.
Yeah.
And let us know where you're from, which country.
Saints Row, baby. You guys like my moves?
Soulevez-le toi.
So I know
the
my
GoPro's there?
rap is really bad,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I have a little more confidence in my dance moves. I'm on the beat.
The GoPro is ready.
Do a little booty shake. Woo! All right.
Oh,
A little bit of morning calisthenics.
Here we go.
Yep. Back for some more freestyle. Maybe later, if I'm a little more caffeinated. All right.
Anxious.
Brian repping West China, what's up? Joshua from Ecuador.
Oh, yeah.
Hagish, what's up? Good to have you back.
Canada.
EJ Tactics, love your emoticons. Okay, so Tassin Mia repping the Yay area, San Jose. All right, I see some Canadian flags. All right, drop some bars while dancing. Oh, I like that. Resource, shake that A, $sign. I assume that's a Big Sean reference. Ooh, Riddler said, oh, that's actually pretty good, LOL. Jen Eric, what the hell are you watching? You are watching an Asian guy go crunk.
Switzerland,
Orlando,
Florida,
what's
Sweden,
up?
Romania.
Texas,
cool.
what's up? Sudan,
LA.
Florida,
Whoa.
Switzerland,
And France.
Romania. I like
Bienvenue.
Romania with the 4 A's. A.
Yeah.
Freddie!
Romania.
My homeboy Fred Prince from LA, what's up? France, Israel, Nashville. Log Home Finishing, still with you here too, bro. Second day Finland, nice. Mexico, England, mucho gusto.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Worldwide.
Ooh, sexy
Worldwide
Asian
workshop.
man.
So,
yeah.
So if you were with us yesterday, we covered some basic techniques and also psychological aspect on how to approach street photography, and as you said, how to take pictures without getting punched in the face. Okay, which is useful tips.
Very
something
useful, yeah.
something you want to learn. Yeah,
Very useful.
Can help. And also we invited you yesterday to play the game, take some street photography pictures, share them with us using the Street Photo Jam, and we told you that Eric would choose 10 pictures he really liked, and we give away Creative Cloud photography plan subscriptions to the 10 winners.
Yep.
And also there is a Cindy prize, but we will talk about it later.
We'll talk about the
there is a
Cindy
special
prize
Cindy
later.
prize. We'll see that later.
We love you guys too.
Okay, so should we discover the winners now?
Yeah, so,
so.
First of all, thanks so much for all those guys who submitted to #StreetPhotoJam.
Yeah.
A lot of great entries out there, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to watch us again. We have lots
winners,
of love
yeah.
for you guys. So me and Michael, we drank some of our anxiety-inducing coffee this morning while looking at some of the great contestants, and we're really excited that the top 10 will get the free Panda Echo. Adobe Creative Cloud as a prize, and also another special prize. So yeah, let's just jump into it, huh, Michael?
Yeah, and they're always making fun of my French accent when I say winners. They hear something else.
Oh, wieners!
Every time, sorry guys.
Oh,
I cannot hear the difference. It's like this.
Okay.
Okay, so Street Photo Jam. So we'll discover the winners.
Yep, winners. Ooh,
Oh, winners.
Oh, that's pretty good. You sound more American there. Winners.
Winners. Hey Rick, let's discover the winners together. So the first one is East Block Boy, and you remember, like, we were reviewing this picture yesterday, and this is before and after.
Yeah.
Before, after, crop the image.
All right.
Before, after.
So it was funny because East Block Boy submitted this photo for critique earlier, but his earlier photo was a little bit far into the shadows.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
remember.
oh man, if you have taken a photo a little bit on the right, it would be
10
way
centimeters.
better. And then I guess he resubmitted a photo that actually he must have taken more than one shot.
Yeah.
So when I look at this shot, what I love is, first of all, the colors. I think one of the best color combinations is between a very cool color and a warm color. So if you guys look at this photograph, you obviously have the warm color of the background, which is yellow. and then the cool color of the blue. And there's also the element of him emerging from the shadows, which kind of gives it that mystery. Also, I like that there's a small details of the graffiti to the right of the man. If I could offer a small critique, I think the negative space on the left is good, but if you could have like chopped out 1/3 of the negative space on the left to make his head not as centered,
here.
I think that'd be stronger. Also, one thing in terms of perspective is it looks like the photographer, you're a bit too tall. You're standing up, shooting down, so your subject looks a little bit awkwardly small in comparison to the background. So if you crouch down a little bit lower to shoot more eye level, I think that'd be stronger. Also, perhaps a hand gesture would have been pretty good. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty strong entry. And
congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, man.
So 1 year Creative Cloud photography plan. Congratulations.
Congrats.
He's Blog Boy, and he submitted a lot of entries. There were a lot of good pictures by
and Bostonani, I don't know how to pronounce that, said it would look in black and white. I would agree as well. I think this looks better in color because of the juxtaposition between the blue and the yellow in the background. And Sugar Ba also agrees on the negative
the glasses are.
Yeah, those glasses are sweet. I think that's the fad now. Everyone's wearing those blue tinted glasses now.
It's coming back.
Okay.
Like Fila.
Oh, yeah. Man, I remember growing up, Filas were like the wax sneakers that no one with money could afford. Nikes, you'd buy a pair of Filas, but I guess they're cool now.
And someone is asking, will there be other contests? So we run like every month contest on the Adobe channel. So I invite you to press the follow button. And if you follow the Adobe Twitch channel, you will be notified when there will be a new contest. So it's a good
And
trick.
Uber Duper asks, where do you recommend getting constructive critiques for an aspiring photographer? My buddy AG actually helps run this street photography community page called Street Togs Critique Group.
Nice.
That's
the goal of the page.
So just go on Facebook and search Street Togs STREETTOGS critique page.
Okay.
And you could get some honest feedback critique there. Sometimes the best is just to sit with another friend at a cafe.
East Block Boy is there.
Oh, East Block Boy, what's up?
Congratulations.
And also examples of negative space in street photos. I'll try to show you guys some examples of that, Hadrick, a little bit later.
Cool.
Moving on.
Okay, next one. So Manuel C. Studer also submitted a lot of very good pictures, but you really like this one, before and after in black and white.
Yeah. So when you first saw this photo, I'm like, okay, tourists with segways, check. Intense looking woman walking the opposite way directly to the photographer, check. I'm like, okay, those are two pretty good elements for a winning shot. Yeah, I'm sure you guys watching out there, whenever you're just going somewhere and you see people on tourists on segways, isn't it like the stupidest looking thing?
And they have to wear the helmet.
It's pretty lame. But anyways, what I love about the photo is the fact that there's this tension between the people on the segways moving away from the subject and the subject coming straight towards the photographer. One of the common mistakes a lot of street photographers make, I think, is they shoot too much from the side. The benefit of shooting head on is that it gives the photo much more energy, much more vigor, and it's a lot more dynamic. Also, I love the look on her face. Go back to the original raw image, and it looks like, I'm not 100%, it looks like he might have shot this with, Manuel might have shot this with a flash, which kind of also gives the photo some intensity. What I like about the black and white version is, it just kind of helps simplifies the scene. In terms of a constructive critique, I think this might have worked better as a vertical shot because you're kind of, it's okay to chop at the top of people's heads, but a little bit of the helmets are chopped off, and I think shooting it vertically would also emphasize the woman's tallness and her grace and her energy moving forward. But I think it's a pretty strong shot, and I think it's pretty sweet.
Congratulations, Manuel.
And LC Finch says, the CEO of Segway fell off a cliff whilst riding a Segway. But who knows, maybe in the future I might do Segway street photography tours. This is like next level stuff.
Okay, next.
Yep.
Arag also submitted a lot of entries. Oh, and you were mentioning that he was part of a photography club?
Yeah, so I don't really mention this too much, but when I was actually at UCLA as an undergrad, me and a couple of my buddies started the photography club at UCLA. Believe it or not, we didn't have a photography club at UCLA, even though we're like 80% Asian. I was one of the co-founders for the photography club. So Eric, it's awesome that you're a part of the photo club, and I'm glad that it's still going strong. And what I loved about this image was kind of this, I just kind of love the colors, the mystery is shot during golden hour, I assume during sunset, and also the nice little subtle reflection with the woman and her hand gesture moving away from the man. And the photo looks like a puzzle. The more I look at it, the more interesting it is. And I like the hand gesture, and yeah, it kind of reminds
here.
Yeah, and all these different elements going all around the phrase.
Yeah.
EG Tactus says Asians at UCLA only 80%. It's probably like 90% now. Yeah, UCLA rep. Yep.
Yeah, nice
Go
work.
Bruins.
Nice work, Eric.
All right, good stuff, Eric.
Okay, next. Oh yeah, so this is the original raw picture you shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of the raw files you shared yesterday. Blanca played with your picture, and this is something we really liked. So first, she added a black and white filter.
Oh, that's a nice transition put in.
Oh
Keynote.
yeah. Oh, I can do that again.
Oh, do that again. I think I just got a little excited down there.
So yeah, the black and white filter, which is already very good.
Yep.
And then she wanted to play it more creative. Ready?
Yep. Oh, now you're getting me really excited, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at that.
So when me and Michael first looked at this, I'm like, man, this is actually pretty epic. Is that she took my original raw image, the version which is a little more traditional in post-processing, making it black and
And
white.
Blanca is there.
Oh, Blanca, good
Yeah,
job.
good job.
What's up? And I love the tilt. I love how you put more emphasis on the hands, and your final version, which is much more creative and illustrative. I think that's absolutely dope. We should stay in contact, because I would love a print of that or something like that. That's
Nice.
And I think it's really a great example that, using Adobe products or whatever products you use to really expand your creativity based on, your mind and your cross-pollination of illustration and photography. I think, yeah, Blanca, definitely keep up the work you do. It's really awesome.
Yeah, good job.
Huge fan.
Next. Okay, so another photographer who started from raw files that you shared. So this is the raw file you shared yesterday.
Yep.
This is your version.
Yep.
I mean the one, and thanks again for the prints.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. Yeah.
And we have someone who also took a different angle.
Yep.
And this is Jimmy, adding some texture,
Yeah. So good.
fingerprints.
So good job, Jimmy. I like the warm tones you added to this photograph. It makes it. One thing I think about post-processing a photograph is it changes the aesthetic, the emotion, the mood of a photograph. So if you look at my original black and white version, I think it's a little bit maybe more melancholy, a little bit sad, or a little somber. Looking at the other photograph, the version you post-processed, Jimmy, it's a lot more. It almost looks like he looks like a Jesus or something. Like it looks like he's got a halo around him. You added a vignette and the nice gold tones.
Like a rock star,
Yeah, like a rock star. And also one thing, because I never look at the raw file version of this, but I realized the woman actually has, looks like she has black fingernails too.
I mean, let's check.
Yeah, it looks like she has black
with
fingernails.
diamonds.
So it's kind of interesting is that you look at the color photograph, it's kind of a monochromatic color image as well, is that it's just the warm tones of his skin, but everything else is pretty much black or white. So I think I love your reinterpretation of this photograph. And once again, a great example of how post-processing techniques can really change the emotion of a photograph.
Good job, Jimmy. The dude's nails are on point.
Oh, and actually, for those of you guys who don't know, that's actually not the dude's hand.
His girlfriend.
This is actually his girlfriend's fingernails.
Yeah, you told us this story yesterday.
Yeah, so for the guys who didn't have the chance to watch, I was taking portraits of this guy, asked for permission. Took about 30 photographs of him, and it was really hot in downtown LA, and his girlfriend came over and started wiping his forehead because he was sweating. And I said, oh, that gesture, wiping his forehead, can you keep doing that? And I snapped a few, and I just got lucky, and I got this one.
Good job, Jimmy. So who's next? Pierce Sepper. Yeah, you really like this picture.
Yeah,
I really
so
like it too.
Pierce submitted this photograph yesterday for critique. And initially when I saw it as a small thumbnail, it just looked a little bit too cluttered and a little bit too much going on. He's probably inspired, if you're watching Pierre, you're probably inspired by like Alex Webb, Constantine Manos, a lot of the other photographers adding a lot of different elements and layers. This is definitely a much more advanced street photography technique where you're filling the frame. I love the guy in the top right corner, a little bit of the white space around his face, him entering the frame. In the bottom right corner, the little kid looking up, which is great. Also, the subject in the far left of the frame. I love it how it's coming out from the side of the frame. This is one thing they call in street photography the bookend technique.
Yeah.
So imagine you have a bookcase and you got the two bookends on the side, which condense the energy into the frame. And you also have all these subjects in the background at different perspectives, different distances, looking different directions. And I love the color, the light, the intensity of the shot. Maybe perhaps still a little bit cluttered in the background. Not much you could do about that. Honestly, I don't shoot a lot of multiple subject photos myself, so I know how hard it is. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic photograph, and I think for the most part you nailed it on this one, Pierce.
Good job, Pierce.
Yep.
Okay, so who's next? PDVLB photography, and this is before and after.
Nice. So Michael, what do you like about the shot?
So first, I mean, you feel that there is something very intense, but in my opinion, what really makes the shot is this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hand gesture, and then you say, oh, okay, they're together and they're trying to protect. I don't know what's happening here, but
it looks like you were actually paying attention in the workshop yesterday too.
You see?
Yeah,
I was there.
Learned a thing or two. Yeah. So one thing that I love about photographs is kind of the emotional content, and when you look at the photo, the more you look at the more interesting it gets. So looking at this photograph, seeing this connection between the elderly black man and the elderly white woman. First of all, there's a juxtaposition in terms of their ethnicity, and also that hand contact is really, really powerful. And looking at the original version, you could see how, generally I try not to crop my photos too much or rotate them, but I think in this instance, a little bit of the rotation and the crop, as well as the contrast, really adds a lot more intensity to the shot. So go back to the final version. And in terms of a critique, maybe if you frame this a little bit more to the left, and also if the original shot was a little bit, I assume this was shot from the hip, that it was putting your camera a little bit lower and not looking through the viewfinder. So perhaps if you shot the camera up to your eye next time, it'd give it a little bit better perspective, but otherwise I think it's got good emotional contact.
Yeah, good job.
Oh, so Log Home Finishing says, these winners were supposed to do before and afters. Correct. Some people did not submit the before and afters, so we chose the best before and afters. And then after that, we chose the best single images we liked.
And there is this one, very intriguing one, by Jonas from Finland, actually.
Oh, looks like we have a new beat on. And then Yezi says, refresh. That'd be a good beat.
Yes.
Refresh.
So the thing with because there's someone like, oh, there is no video or audio. Yeah, just refresh.
Yeah, refresh.
Or a new browser. I mean, try with different browser.
Yeah.
Refresh.
Okay, so looking at this photo, I looked at this photo. I don't know if it's really, my gut instinct, I wouldn't really call it a Coco Street photograph, because it looks like it was maybe a photograph that was shot in a punk concert or something. Regardless, I kind of like the image, so we're gonna cheat a little bit. But Jonas, what I love about the shot is it's a photo that you look at and you're like, WTF, like what the hell is going on here? I like the small details, the cherry on top, which I think is the piercing on the tongue, and just the two eyes coming from the side of the face. I think the only mistake you can make in street photography is just to make a boring photograph, and this photograph certainly is not boring. So yeah, big fan. All right, so Michael, no video or audio. Maybe just refresh your reboot your laptop might be the best thing.
Yeah. Or maybe try a different internet provider.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to.
I'm a big fan of AOL, NetZero, and Juno.
AOL.
Yeah, good old days.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, try in Netscape, maybe.
Netscape.
Yeah, try Netscape.
Yeah, nice. All right, get to the next shot.
Okay, so that's before, which is already good.
Yep.
And then we discovered on Instagram the black and white version. And I think the Instagram account is Street Photography Guy.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
it's a very complicated username.
Yeah.
So looking at the original version. So you can see in the original version, you could see the composition is good. You got two guys entering the frame, then you have two shadows on the left side. You got the strong geometry of the square, and looking at the final version with the black and white. And you can see how he just kind of brought out the shadows a little bit more,
structure,
as well as the structure. So now you kind of see more of the pentagonal shape which is quite cool. Yeah, I think this would make a beautiful print as well. It's quite dramatic. What could have made the shot stronger? Perhaps if they had different hand gestures, like one guy was putting his hand above his head, or one guy was giving us a finger or something. But otherwise, it reminds me of a Rene Burri shot, RENEBURRI, for those guys curious. But I think often in street photography, just simple and minimalist and clean is the way to go.
Nice.
And Druin asked, link for past podcast.
So it's on the YouTube channel, but someone in the chat will put you the link. Oh, here you go.
Okay.
Rewatch.
Ooh,
So if you want to watch Eric's workshop from yesterday, click on the link.
Oh, and Joshua asked, can you talk a little bit more about street photography without people? So there's a lot of definitions for street photography. People generally think it's candid photos of people. My personal definition is just documenting humanity. So it's just pretty much open to your own interpretation. Ultimately, I think if a street photograph doesn't have people in it, it needs to have some sort of emotion that reminds us of humanity. So for example, an abandoned glove on the sidewalk, to me that's street photography in the sense that humans wear gloves and the glove is some sort of reflection of humanity. And yeah, you could just kind of take it from there.
Good. And that's the last one.
So
Mega Noodle, who also submitted several entries.
Yep.
And this is the one you preferred.
So Cindy was actually a huge fan of this one as well. When I first looked at this as a small thumbnail, and this is a pro tip for anybody. One thing I like to do in Lightroom is when I'm looking through my photos, and I'm sure you guys have this instance where you're not sure which of your photos are the best in terms of the composition or the mood.
Yeah.
Sometimes seeing them as small thumbnails in Lightroom or whatever you use is a good way to judge the composition. Even one thing Henri Cartier-Bresson used to do is he'd print out his contact sheets.
Oh yeah, the contact sheets.
Which are just essentially small thumbnails of your images back in the film days. And he'd actually flip his contact sheets upside down.
Oh.
Because once you flip your contact sheets upside down or your images upside down, it doesn't really look like an image anymore. It looks like abstract, geometrical, compositional shapes. So looking at this as a small thumbnail, I can instantly see the colors of the blue on top, the red on the bottom right, the auburn brown of the hair on the left, and the woman's face on the right. So instantly the colors just compelled me. And I think the difference between a great color photograph and a great black and white street photograph is that when color adds to the emotion and the intensity of the mood, then color is what makes the shot. Whereas generally this is a cliche, but black and white is better for more somber moods, a little more depressive, maybe more nostalgic or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But looking at the shot, the woman, the top right looks very pensive. Great colors, depth in the photograph, and I think this would also be a lovely color print as well.
Yeah, good job. So
you're welcome, Joshua. And those of you guys watching, the great thing about doing a Twitch stream is it's live. So ask me any questions. Feel free to interrupt, and I'm more than glad to answer your questions.
So yeah, so these are all the 10 Street Photo Jam winners. You all get Creative Cloud subscriptions.
Yeah, you got the free stuffs.
And
free stuff.
And there's a Cindy prize. So at some point we need to
Cindy
pick
prizes. 5. Okay. So, okay. Oh, and also one thing you mentioned is nothing wrong with cell phone photos. And I do agree is if you think about it, the camera in like most modern day smartphones are as good as point and shoot cameras from even a few years ago. So don't worry so much about the tool you use in street photography. It could just be any camera. Shoot, you could just even use a video camera and just take still photos with the video camera. And just as long as your photos have depth, emotion, and soul, then you kind of got it. Yeah, so we're actually really excited that for those guys who are interested, me and Cindy especially, made a new batch of Henri camera straps, which are camera straps intended for street photographers, fashionable, functional, and will last with you for a lifetime. And we're giving away 5. Cindy is very gracious in giving away 5 of these to the top 5 in terms of what I like and we like. So go back to the entries in terms of favorites. So one of the first winners that I want to give is go to the very last photo we looked at. Yep.
This one?
Yep.
Okay, so let me add a shape so I remember.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay, this is the Cindy Price shape.
So Mega Noodle, one of the reasons why I love this photograph is that it's got a wonderful somber mood. It's got all these great colors, intensity, emotion in the photographs. Also, yeah, it looks like it was probably shot on an iPhone or some other smartphone, and a great example that even though you don't have the highest equipment, you can still make great photographs. All right, so go back. Yeah, I like this one. Yeah. So so congrats, you get the Henri strap. Also, this second photo, we're also gonna announce an Henri strap to this one because I just once again love the simplicity, the minimalism, and also I like the way you post-process this photograph to show the strong geometric shapes. If you just had two silhouettes of guys walking to the photograph, it'd be good. But what makes this a great photograph is having the two shadows also in the frame. So congrats, you also win an Henri strap. Yep.
Yeah, and Mega Noodle is
Oh,
very
Mega
excited.
Noodle, yeah, you did a great job. Ooh, and Cindy's also in the chat. She says, "Hi everyone, thanks for participating in the photo contest. Hope you enjoy the camera straps." And she has some sort of funny looking emoticon. Oh, and Neil's in the house. My homeboy Neil. The straps are great. He's got one on his X100T. Sweet. All right. Also, I like the this one. That was pretty cool. Okay. So the third Henri camera strap Cindy and I would like to award is these interpretations of some of my raw files. Oh, do that again. That was sexy. I think so. Generally in street photography, people are like, oh yeah, you don't want to quote Photoshop your photos, blah blah blah. But I think it just all depends on what you're trying to do with your art. If you're doing it for maybe more like, authenticity purposes, yeah, you probably don't want to make a vector out of it. But I think for creative purposes, I think this is a really beautiful way to reinterpret photographs, whether they're other people's photographs, your own photographs. And I just love to see not only her black and white conversion, but also her illustration in the end. It's super dope. Love it. And and a good example, not only to me, but I think all of us, that there's so many different ways we could be creative with the tools you have. So Blanca, you get the third Henri camera strap.
Good job. And PMM Images is asking about specific specs.
PMM, thanks for buying the Leica strap for your 262. Too short. The new strap is like 2 inches longer, so it's probably not that much longer. I actually prefer a little bit higher up on the neck.
Cindy's on top of it.
Oh,
43.
Yeah. But we'll try to make another version of the Henri camera strap the next batch, which is even a little bit longer. But yeah, this is really, really dope. And Neil says the strap sits 1 inch above his belly button. Okay, that's a very graphic. Okay, so go back. So number 4. Let me take a look through. Okay. Actually, yeah. Okay. So number 4, Manuel, we're really excited to give you another Henri camera strap. The reason I love this photograph is, and honestly, it takes a lot of guts to shoot head on. And I'm not sure if you use a flash, but I assume you did. Regardless, to get this close, and you said the lady almost bumped into you. I think if you want to make a great street photograph, it's really difficult to make good street photograph because it is really scary, and you could have the chance of having confrontation, bumping into people. But definitely the photograph has lots of intensity, the pensive, anxious look of the woman, and also the funny juxtaposition of the tourists on the segways on the left side. So I think it's a quite strong street photograph.
There is no flash on this picture.
Oh, no flash. Okay.
We have the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no flash.
It's
okay.
here. San Pedro de Chile.
Okay, so Manuel.
Manuel is with us. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so Manuel, one photographer you should look into. His name is Gary Winogrand, Garry Winogrand, Winogrand. He shot with a 28mm lens, shot head on in the streets of New York City and other places. But yeah, fantastic shot, took a lot of guts, and well worth it.
Happened in a fraction. That's
happened in a fraction.
Yeah.
Yep.
One shot, one take. Boom.
It's just like life. Sometimes the best things happen in a fraction of a second. All right.
Yeah.
Go to the
nice. So I think we have 4 already. So need to reward one more, I think.
Okay. So for the last one, Cindy, which one do you want to choose? Cindy's for you guys who don't know, so we're in the studio right now, and Cindy's sitting on the couch. Oh, is Cindy gonna grace our presence? Is Cindy coming on camera?
Hi everyone.
Hello, hello interwebs. You can talk to the mic.
Hello everyone. Thanks for your love and support.
Oh, your voice sounds so good. All right. Wait, so which one do you want to choose?
Which one?
So
look at them as thumbnails, as Eric said.
either this one or this one.
Oh, Cindy, you're getting love too.
Oh, thank you.
She wants this one.
This is a dope beat right here. Cindy.
Definitely this one, just because of the emotion, the movement.
Come a little closer. Speak louder.
Definitely this one, just because of the emotion, the movement, the contrast, as Eric said. It just definitely is a photo that hits my heart right when I see it. Congrats.
Yeah. Cindy in the building. I got tons of feelings. I don't know what I'm saying. I'll do this later. All right, cool.
Yeah, give some heart
Yeah,
emojis.
get some heart emojis in there for Cindy.
Cindy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Cindy in the house, she's showing me her blouse. I shouldn't be saying that, but I like to clap for her rap. Watch me in my game, cause I be spraying, praying, cause I'm Catholic, go to church. That's it. I'm a really bad Catholic though. Alright, that's pretty
Okay,
cool.
and we start having questions before we go over your.
Hit it, Eric. Oh, maybe while we're transitioning, so maybe I'll do some more of the b-boy breakdancing. Put on the GoPro. Yeah, Kev Puck, don't worry, I won't give up my day job. But then.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Woo! Yeah, what's up?
Yeah.
Eric, they just said Eminem got nothing on this.
Oh no, Eminem would like murder me. I'm a big Eminem fan, by the way. Thank you,
Nice.
Kathleen, the best creative jam. Oh, I'm getting all warm now. And for you guys who did notice, yes, I did wear the shirt 2 days in a row because I'm like a homeless street photographer. Joshua says, "Are you gonna get more free things? Talk to Neil and Cindy." LC Finch says, "What's going on?" Ooh, Matt Hatter says, "You could totally be a b-boy. I used to be a b-boy when I was like 16. It was like 12 years ago. Oh, Kung Fu Drunk Master. Okay, hashtag mad skills. Oh, Rufus, you missed the breakdancing.
Again. Oh my God.
I'll do a little bit later. Okay.
It will be on YouTube tonight.
It'll be on the
Don't worry.
YouTubes.
Yeah.
Woo!
And we had some questions. Sorry, we missed the questions. So if you want to ask the questions again, we'll be happy to answer them because it was a little bit crazy. So I saw some questions in the chat.
yeah.
I missed them. So.
Okay, Hadrick says,
Oh,
what
okay.
about starting today's
Yeah.
class?
Yeah, good
All right,
point.
thank you. All right, we'll jump into it. So switch over to the Eric Kim screens.
Boom. To the Eric Kim screens.
Oh yeah, Kathleen, you're right. I am having way too much fun on this Twitch thing. Yeah, but the greatest thing though is my homeboys, Michael, Rufus, Jason in the house,
The
Cindy,
homies.
everyone out there. You guys are giving a lot of love. Gus, you're awesome. But yeah, having a lot of good vibes in the studio. So big ups to the team for making this awesome. All right.
Yes.
More freestyle. There'll be more bad freestyle later. All right, so stay tuned. All right, so Street Photography 102. I'm gonna talk a little bit today about finding your style in the street photography, working on projects, overcoming creative obstacles. All right, so let's jump into it. So because this is a live Twitch stream, the awesome thing is you guys get to interact. So one of the leading questions I want to ask you guys, and you know I can actually ask you, Michael, is why do you guys love photography? And one of the important questions is people always ask, what camera do you use? Where do you photograph? How many followers do you have on Instagram? But no one ever asks, why do you love photography and why do you take photos? So those guys in the chat box, why don't you guys share why you love photography? And Michael, maybe you could also share a little bit of why you love photography.
Yeah, I mean, what I like with photography is that you freeze time and it creates something new, you know, like, just having a frame of life, you just freeze time and it creates, actually it gives times, I guess, to our eyes and our brain to understand what's happening around us. That's what I like. And go beyond that, you know. Just create new stories and maybe appreciate more the emotion that is around us.
Yep.
That you would miss, you know, in all
I
this
mean,
craziness.
we all know, we all have email, social media.
Yeah.
And we can never just kind of sit down and appreciate things. We're
Yeah.
in the elevator, we're looking at our phones, we're checking emails, Instagrams, whatever. So the chance to appreciate everyday life.
We have some
Raven's Pat
definitions now.
says, enjoy, I think, capturing the moment. Mad Mip says, you could show what you see, how you see it, which I like because it's not about reality, it's how you see reality.
Yeah.
Sugar Bow says, it reminds me of where I've been. PMM says, gives the opportunity to express my point of view. And I think that's also very
and
important.
we have a question from Priority. This is the one we missed. I'm trying to send that people need to take videos at me. Because I'm in a wheelchair. So how do I get my point across?
So priority one. So first of all, awesome that you're shooting street photography in a wheelchair. I actually know another guy named Steve Keen. He did one of my workshops. He was also in a wheelchair. And I think use that to your advantage. Is the good thing about being in a wheelchair is that you have a slightly lower perspective. And so if all your shots are shot from this lowest perspective, you make this personal, you make it yours. So rather than trying to do something that's different from what's authentic to you, embrace your situation.
Master it.
Yeah. And I think that's wonderful. It's Young Stolzman says, capture an otherwise unforgotten, overlooked moment. And practicing creating photographs that have an impact, something to say, Solimer. And so you guys have all these wonderful things. One of the reasons I personally love photography too is I think street photography and photography gives me a chance to be more courageous. Believe it or not, even though I'm like this crazy dude on the internet, on Twitch right now, I'm actually a pretty shy guy. Even before doing this morning, I was actually pretty shy and a little bit nervous. And Cindy's always the one who calms me down. By the time I'm calmed down, she gives me another espresso. Then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I think street photography for me is a way for me to connect with people. So I'm less interested in making images. I'm more interested in making connections.
Okay.
So that's what street photography
is. It's a bit also the story of, I'm sure you know this account like Humans of New York.
Yeah, definitely.
So he was at Adobe Max last year actually on stage at the big Adobe convention.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. And he shared his story and he started, just taking pictures in the street, but without really approaching people, just taking pictures and put it on social networks. I think it was on Facebook. It was before Instagram.
Yeah.
And then one day he takes a picture of someone and start talking to this person.
Yep.
And put the picture and his story.
Oh, yeah.
And then he sees he get twice or three times more likes and said, oh, there is something here. And that's how it started, making connections every day, talking to people, sometimes 1 hour, and then just taking one shot and sharing one picture a day of someone in New York.
Yeah, a lot of people poo-poo on Humans in New York. They're like, oh, his photos are boring, sucks, whatever. But, I'm a huge fan of what he's doing because it's, for me, photography is less about the image, more about the emotion you get from it. So combine the image as well as the story. And, human beings is all about telling good stories. And I think what he's doing is authentic to his heart. So I'm actually a huge fan of what he does. And I think at the end of the day, honestly, no one really cares about your photos. But you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think this is an important point because I think for example, when I started photography, it was all about social media, getting more followers, getting more likes and comments. And I'll tell you, you want to know what I did? How did I try to game the system? All right, so this was in the early days of Twitter, Flickr, sorry. There was no Instagram. So on Flickr, I would just mass follow everybody, and hopefully that every 50 people I followed, I get 2 follow backs, and then I'd favorite everyone's photos, and I'd be like, nice photo, nice photo, nice photo. I'm just waiting for the reciprocity to come in. But it just one day I realized, I'm not this stupid. Why am I doing this? I just kind of feel like an idiot, right? And what I started to realize as time went on is I got too addicted to the social media side of things and getting external affirmation from other people. And what I started trying to do was to make my photography more personal to me, making photos for myself, photos that made me happy. One of the best experiments I did was for about a year, I spent a year not uploading any photos to the internet. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, do I really like my own photos? And I realized for a lot of the photos I share, I didn't really like them, but part of it was I need to upload one photo every single day so I could get my daily crack hit of likes and stuff like that. Okay. And we all know.
So it was quantity over quality. That's what
definitely.
That's what you felt.
And it's also I was making photos to please my audience rather than please myself. So as a practical tip for you guys out there who are trying to build your own brand, your own style, make photos that bring you personal satisfaction and happiness, and then just wait for your audience to come to you, rather than looking at what the audience wants and trying to make art that appeases to them.
Someone disagrees.
Okay, so Hagish says, an important photo tells an important message. It speaks for itself, and that's 1 in 1,000. Yeah, no, I agree. I think to a large extent, photography, it should stand by itself. But once again, there's different ways to express your creativity. And my buddy Fred Prince says, validation is for parking. Love you, man. Yeah.
That's a good one.
And thanks for the love, Kev Pug. Yeah, read your books, read my books, and changed the perspective on why I'm taking photographs. Yeah, so maybe Gus, if you could include a link on my some of my free street photography ebooks. I've written maybe 10 of them.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I really
cool.
believe in open source information. They're all PDFs. You don't need to
Whoa.
sign up for no stupid newsletter to
That's
download
great.
them. So yeah, just download them, read them on the iPad or your phone.
Wow,
on
thanks.
your commuting. Cool.
So, go back.
Oh, go back. Okay.
Why do you take photos?
Yeah. Okay.
We didn't answer this one.
Oh, okay. So we didn't really answer this one. So this kind of goes off to the previous point, but for me, the reason I take photos is I'm trying to capture some sort of emotion, some sort of moment, and trying to communicate that love, the emotion to my viewer. And so I feel like with all my photography, whether they be my street photography or my personal photography, at the end of the day, even though I say you should take photos for yourself, I think photography serves a social purpose. Otherwise, you would just never share your photos with anyone, which is fine, but I think, why would you make a photograph of it? Why don't you just look at it, remember it, and write it down in a journal? So I think that at the end of the day, you should share your images, but it's finding that balance between sharing your best work versus sharing for the sake of sharing to get more likes and followers and stuff like that.
I get it.
So once again, the reason why I take photos, I think it comes down to the emotion and trying to evoke some sort of emotion in my viewers as well.
Someone is asking what photos make you happy, Eric.
What kind of photos make me happy? That's a good question. I think in the past, it used to be street photos of mine that upload to Instagram or social media that got a lot of likes. Now, it's just some of the photos that make me happiest are just kind of snapshots I shoot of Cindy and sharing my love with her, and also photographs of my loved ones. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
So one of my the photographer who's probably had one of the most influences on me, his name is Josh White. He's one of my good friends from Korea. And he's also a very passionate street photographer. And he told me the story, which totally changed my view on photography forever. So he's a street photographer, shoots in Korea a lot, has a bunch of cameras and stuff like that. And one day he finds out that his father passed away.
Oh.
So what happened was his father was out rafting with his wife, my friend's mom, and there's a really strong riptide. His mom fell in. His dad jumped in to save her, ends up saving the mom, but the current was too strong, so he got sucked into the water and he passed away, unfortunately. And during his funeral, Josh was looking for all these photographs of his father, and he found a few, but not that many photographs. And rather, he had mostly photos of strangers because his passion was street photography. And it just kind of clicked to him, why do we take photos of strangers with thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment, but we take photos of our most loved ones just with our iPhones? And I was thinking to myself, that's actually a really good point. And I'm sure when I'm 80 years old or however old I am, 90, and I'm on deathbed, I'm not really going to care so much about these photos of strangers I shot on the street. I'm going to care most about the photos of my loved ones, especially to Cindy, who's the love of my life and my inspiration, my guide. And yeah, so I think nowadays, while I still do love street photography and it's definitely one of my focuses, I think the photos that make me the happiest are photos that I photographed of Cindy, which evoke some sort of good memories in me and just kind of reliving the moment through my own photographs. So keeping it more personal and shooting what's personal to me rather than the outside world as much. But I think ultimately to tie street photography of other people, trying to find an emotion in your subjects which reflects your own inner mood and emotions. Nice.
Thanks.
Uncle Jemima 666 says, "Aw, heart, yeah, lots of love." So Sugar Bow, one question. Worked in a studio for a company, I was miserable, quit and want to get into photography, I don't know how. I think, okay, so I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I'll jump into it now. Overcoming photographer's block. So I'm sure that you have days, Michael, when you wake up and you're just not feeling very creative and just want to do. I used to feel that you just had to go out and force yourself to take a lot of photographs to refine your passion. I used to believe that. Now, I don't know if I really believe in that anymore.
Okay.
For me, I feel like you should never force yourself to do anything creative that you don't really want to do. Otherwise, you're just not really enjoying yourself. Rather, I think sometimes just taking a break. So if you want to get back into photography and you haven't yet, perhaps you just need more time to have a break from photography or even pursue a different art like painting or drawing or dance or whatever. Because I think at the end of the day, it's not about making good photographs. It's about enjoying your life and living a purposeful, meaningful life. And so nowadays, I'm only taking photos that I think will be purposeful or meaningful, not taking photos for the sake of taking photos. It's kind of similar to planting trees or planting crops. You don't always constantly over harvest your trees. Sometimes you need to give it some rest to replenish the nutrients. So it's kind of counterintuitive advice from what I think most people on the internet say. So yeah, try not to shoot all the time, or try not to shoot every day. And sometimes the frustration of not having your camera with you could reinvigorate your passion for photography. Nice. So another question I like to pose to you beautiful people on the interwebs. I think one of the best ways to find your own personal style in photography is saying something about your personality, something about your vision, and something about how you see the world. So to you guys out there watching, what do you think your photos say about you? And don't feel shy, just don't feel like you're bragging or whatever. So what do you think your photos say about you? So Michael, I'll start with you. What do you think your photos say about you?
About me, I'm not really sure, but I'm sure that and when I enjoy pictures from other photographers, it's like a kind of open door to understand the photographer, what he likes. There is this series by, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, by Raymond Depardon.
Oh, yeah.
And about France. So, which is his country, obviously, but also it's also my country. And then he traveled across France, just taking pictures, in small villages, but capturing moments that really define what is in all our minds, like kind of buildings, typography, some people, and you're like, oh yeah, it's true that it's part of the identity of France. And you say, so it's interesting because as you said, like it's a kind of documentary, of what you see, but also it really told me that Raymond Depardon has this, how can I say that? You need this connection with the country, but also your childhood, to remember everything. And it's a kind of long process. It's a real creative process. And that's why I admire this work. I say, because I admired him. Not really the picture.
You could see him through his photographs.
Yeah.
All right, so some of you guys out there. Cindy, your mom said,
oh,
Cindy, you're so pretty. How'd she know how to do the heart emoticon? Okay, so John Quadro says, started photographing with film from the get-go and stuck with that. At what point is editing photos making cheating or inauthentic? I think just listen to your own heart. If you feel like it's cheating or inauthentic, it probably is. But it just it's kind of like less is more. Let's see some other stuff.
I'm really interested in people, someone says, yeah. A bit hesitant to make contact, okay.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think everyone out there has a different personality. So whether you're introverted, extroverted, or something in between, I think you should take photos in a manner which is authentic to you. So if you're more introverted, perhaps it is better for you not to really make eye contact and shoot from a distance. However, if you're a street photographer who's more extroverted, perhaps it's better for you to shoot more street portraits and interact with them. For me, I think what my photos say about myself is that even though I'm a happy guy for the most part and pretty optimistic, I'm actually kind of a little bit of a pessimist, a little bit depressing, and
or melancholia.
Melancholy, and kind of a social critic. I studied sociology in school, and I learned a lot about what's bad with society and what's kind of screwed up. And so when I look at most of my photographs, and a lot of my viewers say this too, is that, Eric, you're such a fun and happy, friendly guy. How come your photos are so goddamn depressing? And so even looking at this photograph, this is a photograph I shot in Provincetown. It's part of a photograph. I attended David Allen Harvey and Konstantin Manos' workshop as part of Magnum. And I did a week-long intensive workshop shooting projects. And essentially, I was so fed up and so frustrated because I wasn't able to find any photo opportunities around town. And one of the best advices I got for David Allen Harvey is sometimes when I don't know what to photograph, I just go to the bar and have a drink and bring my camera with me. So I did exactly what he said. At like 10, 11 a.m., I went with my buddy Kwok, and we went to this bar called the Old Colony. It's a total dive bar, and bought a beer, chilled there, started talking to some locals, chatted with this guy, and heard his life story. And the more I chatted with him, the more cool he got with him. I got him a beer. And somewhere along the line, he goes over to the jukebox and is choosing songs. And I had my camera, and I must have shot at least literally 90 photos of him.
Wow.
I shot this on a Fuji X-T1 with a 27mm 2.8 lens. Shot in P mode, which automatically chooses the aperture and shutter speed. I think the ISO was 3200. Exposure compensation -2 or -3. And what I love about this photograph is just kind of, once again, the sad, melancholy look into the jukebox, a sense of nostalgia in the past. And yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I think it reveals a darker part of my personality that not that many people know me when they first meet me, but the more they get to know me, they get to see me through my photographs. And so for all those of you guys out there watching, I think ultimately the sign that you're really making it in your photography is when a person who doesn't know you at all could look at your photos and see who you are as a human being. Right? Another thing when you're working on your own photography style or a vision of the world is trying to think, what are you trying to communicate through your photos? So this is part of my project. One of my favorite projects is called Suits. Essentially, my life story was I grew up sociology, super left wing, radical, whatever. And I was like, man, I'm never going to work for the man. I don't care about money. I just want to be happy, man. And then I graduated and entered the real world. I'm like, crap, I need to pay my rent. So I ended up getting like a more corporate tech job. In the beginning, it was fun and exciting, but as time started to drag on, I felt like kind of trapped from my job. And after I fortunately got laid off, now whenever I see guys in suits, it reflects how I felt when I was stuck in this miserable corporate job that a lot of other people are. So what I'm trying to do through my project is express my frustration through feeling trapped through other people. And it's very, very biased. And I think that's what also makes a great photography project. You want to make it more biased and more personal to you, because people are like, oh, I work as a suit, but I love my job.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't.
But it's not your your experience.
And the more specific you make it, the more universal it will be. So when you look at this photograph, so guess where I shot this?
Oh yeah, I recognize the line in Paris.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
You know that line?
Yeah, M8. Yeah,
Which stop do you usually get off at?
Des Grands Boulevards. Oh, yeah, it's here.
Oh yeah.
It's after.
And what is the look of the emotion you think in his face?
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, from the angle, like he's reading just the name of the stations. Although I'm pretty sure like he takes this line like every day, but it's just like a practice.
Okay.
Just to do something, because yeah, a little bit lost. And you use the flash, so it's funny because there is one eye, which is.
So do you want to hear the story of how I took the photo without getting punched in the face?
Oh yeah.
So I was literally standing right next to him.
I can tell because you're very close to the bar.
Oh yeah, very close to the bar. So for this photo, I was shooting with a film Leica with a 35mm f2 lens with the SF24D Leica flash on top. And I see this suit, and whenever I see a guy in a suit, I'm like, I must take a photograph. He looks so miserable. But he was like literally like, you know, I could probably smell his breath from here. And what I did was, I just, whenever I see a good photo opportunity, the more I hesitate, the less likely I am to take a photo. So when I first see a photo, I just don't think. So I just crouched down, turned on the flash, and took a single photograph. And after I took the photograph, and I dropped the camera down, I didn't make eye contact with him. I kept my eyes fixated on the metro subway map in the background.
To pretend that you were taking a picture of it?
Yeah, and then looking to the side.
Oh,
and then I just took out my phone and pretend like I was checking my email or something like that.
Oh no.
Because shooting in the subway causes me a lot of anxiety because there's nowhere for you to essentially run away. And I think I stayed with him for like 3 or 4 stops. So
that's so correct.
Yeah. So if you want to shoot more stealthy in street photography, sometimes the best what you could do is not make eye contact and stuff like that. Yeah. Hadrick says, fatigued, living dead after a day's work. We all know how that is. PMMS impression of Leica digital cameras. They're great cameras. For me, they're a little too expensive. I prefer the film cameras. Is that
maybe you want to show again the one you're using today?
Yeah. So mostly nowadays I shoot with a Ricoh digital GR camera. I like it because it's got an APS-C DSLR side sensor, little pop-up flash on the side. I usually keep it in P mode, which is program mode, which automatically chooses aperture and shutter speed. Keep the ISO around 800 or 1600. And then, I'll just have like a black and white preview or something in the back. I usually shoot RAW plus JPEG. Sometimes the JPEGs look better than the RAW files. And what I love about it is just small, unobtrusive. I still have my digital, my film Leica MP camera at home. I haven't really touched it in a long time because there's not really places for me to get my film processed in town anymore. So I don't still know how much digital I'm going to shoot versus film, but I'm moving to Vietnam for about 1.5 years and 6 months in France. So I'm going to figure out whether I want to shoot more digital or film there. right? So, and oh yeah, this is also a good question from Pixel, Wizzy. So do you need consent to use someone's photograph, even on the subway, photo releases? No. You only need a photo release is if I was gonna put his ad on a Coca-Cola commercial and say, hey, drink Coke and you won't be miserable like this guy, right? But if it's taken as art, then you're totally good. Subway is tricky because I actually don't really know the laws of shooting on the subway in France. Technically, I don't think you're supposed to, but I think it's better to ask for permission. It is better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. And it's worked for me pretty well up until now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and if I want to sell this as a print or put in a book, it's totally free game.
So someone is asking, okay, so if you want Eric also to review some pictures, this is something we did yesterday. Provide some feedback on your picture. You can share them on social networks, on Twitter, Instagram. Just add the Adobe Live hashtag, and at some point we will just review some pictures.
Okay.
If you're okay with it.
Oh yeah, so Grungy, the Ricoh GR is like $600-700. And Joseph Lopez says, check out my project Men in Suits. Inspired, thank you. Yeah, just share it on Instagram or share it on Twitter with hashtag Adobe Live, and then maybe we get to it later. And yeah, you could submit old work. That's cool. And yeah, you could sell postcards with people's photographs. That's totally cool too. And yeah, unfortunately, no contest today, but I'll do some more critiques later. All right. Yeah, and then yeah, so don't post links of your Instagram yet. Just upload them to your personal Instagrams or Twitters with the hashtag Adobe Live. Cool. So moving on. So this is actually one of my favorite photographs. And
I think, is it in New York?
no, this is actually in Michigan, in Lansing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it reminds me of a place.
Okay, so for you guys out there watching, what are some of the details you find interesting in this photograph? What do you think is the backstory? Share your comments and ideas.
Whoa.
What do you think, Michael? Grungy says, ooh, Sammy Davies. Nice. Good eye.
Oh, yeah.
I do love taking photos. What are the details you find interesting, Michael?
Oh, I like the, what's the name in English?
Yeah, Graceful Dad said, woo, Michigan. Yeah. Where are you on the map in terms of your hand, right? Blown out.
So what is the name of this in English?
Chandelier.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Isn't that a French word?
Yeah, it's a French word, but we say lustre. So
Oh,
that's
okay,
why
okay.
Chandelier is something else. It's just one candle, you know, when
Yeah.
you just have like candles.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
what do
chandelier.
you find interesting in this photograph?
I like the composition first. I like the. I imagine like a couple having a fancy dinner, and they don't look at each other. They don't even talk.
Yeah.
So it's kind of awkward, and the picture is a little bit tilted. Also,
Yep.
there's like on a ship, you know, something is about to
A little unsteady.
going
Yeah.
on, and you can feel it's a bit endangered with this chandelier on top of them. That's what I
Yeah.
like also.
Nice. Oh, so some of the comments out there. So MT Easy is asking for how extreme can you go with compositions? Maybe we're talking about the tilt. Hadra Land says, dancing at the party. These two are too
Yeah.
serious.
There's a good contrast here.
Voodoo Val says the guys on the wall look so happy, but the people
Yeah.
in the foreground look miserable. Neil says too busy playing Pokemon Go. Before I talk more about it, one thing I love most about this photograph, or I'll tell you, you guys want to know the story behind the photograph?
Yeah.
So the story is, I'm in a restaurant in Lansing, Michigan with Cindy, and I'm about to go to the bathroom. Cindy, you remember this, right? So I'm about to go to the bathroom, and one of my sayings is always have your camera with you, because you never know when a good photograph might occur, right?
Maybe at the bathroom.
Maybe in the yeah, exactly. So I take my camera around my neck, and I'm heading to the bathroom. And Cindy's like, Eric, where are you taking your camera? And I say, to the bathroom. Why? She's like, that's gross. That's so unsanitary. That's disgusting. Why would you do that? And I said, Cindy, you never know when there's going to be a good photo opportunity. And she just kind of rolls her eyes, and then I'm walking to the bathroom. On the way to the bathroom, I see this scene, and I immediately see a guy in a suit. I'm like, oh, guy in a suit. Couple, bored couple, that's good. People on the top look like they're having a good time. So I take out my camera, and I put my flash to full power.
Ooh.
And I take one photo, and it's really dark in there, so the flash goes off like like a lightning
entire
bolt.
restaurant.
And then they're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And they kind of stare at me, And I stare back at them, and then I go, "Cool place, huh?" And then they look behind them, and they're like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." I'm like, "Enjoy your dinner." They're like, "Thank you." And I go to the restroom, and I come back from the bathroom. I'm like strutting with my camera, and she's like, Cindy goes, "Did you find anything interesting in the bathroom?" And I said, "No, but I think I might have gotten a good photo." This was shot on film as well, so I didn't see this photo for like maybe 6 months after I shot it. But yeah, essentially, one of the reasons I love about the photo is, once again, all the reasons you guys shared. And yeah, when I did a workshop with David Allen Harvey, he looked through all my photos like, yeah, these photos are all whatever. And he looked at this photograph, he's like, wow, that's a great photograph. So I'm always going to keep that in my heart. And so some more questions. When did you realize you had your own style? Is asking from Egg Yolk. So that's a good question. I think honestly, I'm still discovering my style. I think I'm a little bit less hesitant about my style now than I was in the past. I think honestly, a lot of it just comes with experience.
Okay.
So when I first started, I think about it like you're a Renaissance artist. You start off in the apprenticeship phase where you're studying all the works of the masters, and you're essentially trying to imitate your master and trying to imitate their work as well as you can. And you keep working on that, keep working on that, keep working on that. And once you perfect that, and then you kind of realize at a point, like, I don't like to just copy my master anymore. I want to do something a little different. So you do something just subtly a little bit different. You try a lot of different things. And once you find something that you like, based on your gut feeling and the feedback from your peers, you continue down this path. So there's a lot of different paths I went through in my style in street photography. I started off kind of more of the black and white Henri Cartier-Bresson street photography, where, stand really far away, look for interesting background, wait for somebody to enter the scene. That's when I was a lot more shy. Then when I shot that for 2 years, I started getting bored. I'm like, is there any other way you can shoot street photography? Go on YouTube, and instantly I see Bruce Gilden shooting the streets of New York City with a flash and getting like that close to people's faces. And I'm like, why is this guy not getting punched in the face? And essentially I went out and I just copied him. And I'm like, this is actually a lot of fun, and I'm not getting punched in the face. And I started to really like the photos I was making. And when I first started sharing them, people were like, oh, these are so cool, this and that. But then once my blog started getting more popular, people were like, oh, you're just trying to bite off Bruce Gilden, you're a phony, your photos suck, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, why don't you guys love me? And after that, I was like, okay, I want to try to find more of my own style. I'll shoot color because color is more unique. So I started shooting color, and people are like, oh, your work looks like Martin Parr. I'm like, who's that? Go online, I see essentially another photographer, one of the world's most famous photographers.
This one is depressed.
Yeah.
This one you can tell, like Martin Parr, you look at his pictures.
Shooting color photos with flash, with his photos saying some sort of social critique. I'm like, that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
I love his work.
Love his work.
Oh, yeah.
Then I move over to Michigan to follow the love of my life, Cindy. Then there's no people on the street. I'm like, this sucks. I'll just shoot buildings anyways. So I'm shooting more urban landscapes. Then I discover Stephen Shore, Willem Eggleston, and a lot of those kind of guys. And people are like, oh, you're just trying to copy them. And then I go back, and then I just started trying to shoot more like gritty black and white street portraits. Bruce Gilden's also doing that. Like, oh, you just copied Gilden. I'm like, oh, God, what am I going to do? I think what I'm starting to do, which is kind of more unique now, is that I'm shooting more candid and posed photos of Cindy, kind of shot in a street photography aesthetic where it's kind of a little bit more raw, a little bit more visceral, got more grain and grit. Did a lot of them in black and white. Now I'm starting to do more in color, inspired by my buddy Josh. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's, I guess, combining my interest in street photography as well as personal photography and making Cindy my main subject. And based on what people have been telling me is that they say that my photos of Cindy are probably the most personal and meaningful and shows really a little more who I am. And this took me about 10 years. I've been shooting since I was 18 years old. I'm 28 now, even though I still look 12 years old. And so I think, and also, have you heard of the 10,000 hour rule?
Yeah.
So what do you know about the 10,000 hour rule?
This is the project, because I've heard of a project. I think it was in New York. Was it this one?
Yeah. So there's a writer. I think Malcolm Gladwell. I think it's from New York. He popularized this concept that if you want to be a master in anything, you need to work at least 10,000 hours in it.
Yeah.
And I think if you do the maths on that, 10,000 hours is about 3 to 4 hours a day of practice for about 10 years.
But then, I mean, back to your point, where you were saying that I want to take as much pictures as I can, and then you stop, etc. This is something. So, do you think it's to master the technical aspect of taking pictures, or is it really about your style? Because the style is so personal.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we live every day anyway. You see what I mean?
Definitely.
So the 10 hours of just living experiences, what's happening. I think it's more about we should spend like 10,000 hours connecting with ourselves.
I think you're right, and this is what's great about shooting with an iPhone or a smartphone or a camera just in P mode is that for a long time with film photography, it would take you like a few years just to master the technical aspects. But now there's a shortcut, so you're more focused on capturing emotions and moments that are more conducive to your own personal vision.
Because I feel that a lot of people think that a style in photography, and you say black and white and then color, it's not a graphic style.
Yep.
We don't really care about the graphic style of our pictures.
Definitely.
Because when you look at Martin Parr, for instance, a picture, you know it's Martin Parr because it reflects a very depressing aspect of the US.
Yep.
You know, okay, it can only be him. You know?
Yep.
And you don't recognize the colors or the grain, you know. Now you recognize the topic.
Yep.
And yeah, what he shows like eggs, you know, like stupid things like this. And
no,
like, wow.
you're definitely right. I think style in photography and street photography is two things: is aesthetic, what your photos look like, black and white or color, whatever, or the way you post-process your photos, or what camera lens you use.
Yeah.
And the second, I think, which is more important, is your subject matter, what you decide to photograph, your content. And I think people focus too much on on the first part, which is the aesthetic.
Yeah, the aesthetics, and also what I like with your work, especially the one about the shoots, etc., is that in photography it's not only about one picture. It's also the series. I guess it's the same word, like series of pictures, like
definitely series.
with a creative angle, and you said this is what I want to express.
Yep.
And sometimes you need more than one picture.
Definitely.
So we had someone in the chat saying, "Oh, you know, but one picture can change the world, etc." I feel that one series, like I remember series more than pictures actually. When I go to photography exhibition. There is this photograph I really like. It's from South Africa. Is it Peter? I will find the name.
Okay, so while you're doing that, so I see some questions in the chat box. So, yeah, I do shoot film, shot film exclusively for like 3 years. I'm shooting mostly digital now. And tips about exhibiting. One of the tips is less is more. So you can have 5 or 6 prints, and that's good enough for an exhibit. Choose the best of the cream of the crop. Neil's also right, is style does evolve over time. And I think there's a Bob Dylan quote I like is, if you're not busy being born, you're busy dying. And I think if you want to grow as a photographer, I think try to get a multifaceted approach. I'm a huge fan of workshops, books, experience. All these things are really important. I'm not a real huge fan of going to photography school for 4 years. I think it's just too expensive and too inaccessible to most people. But being self-taught and being an autodidact is one of the best ones. Oh, what's this one?
So this one is by this artist. He's from South Africa, but this series has been shot in Nigeria. His name is Peter Hugo, and I saw his exhibition. It was at Photography Sky in Sweden. And he's he does a lot of series, and you remember the series, so that's the point. And he identified a gang in Nigeria.
Yep.
So usually, you know, like in and they look at gangs, you know, in LA, and they have the huge dogs, etc. But it's in Nigeria, so they have I don't know the name in English. I know it's hyena. Hyena. So they have hyenas.
They're essentially like more serious Pokemon for adults.
Yeah. So you see, I mean that's.
Those are. Oh yeah, I've seen this project as well. Amazing project. And you're totally right. Is a single photograph on itself could be strong, but in a series, it's so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Some more questions. So. Okay, so a good one is how you feel about having a unique photography style with being part of a collective of other snappers. I think it's better for you to follow your own personal style and your own vision, and perhaps find another collective which is similar to your style, or wait for the collective to reach out to you, rather than trying to make your style fit a collective. And yeah, 6x6 is a great format.
Always.
So to talk a little bit more about working on projects and sequences and series. One of the suggestions Cindy gave me this morning in the Uber ride over is to show a little bit more my process in Lightroom and how I put together some series.
Cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So several things I'll show you guys. So for the most part, I keep everything synced in Dropbox. I have a pro account, which makes life easy. And I just have like a pictures folder. And one of the ways that I recommend working on projects is when you're working on projects, what I always do is whenever I make a new edit, whenever I add photos or remove photos, what I'll do is I'll add version numbers. So for example, one of my main projects right now. It's called my Only in America series. So you can see I have a version 8 all the way up to version 16. So I constantly add and remove images from this. So when you're working on a project and you're not quite sure what direction you want to take it to, just keep working on a project and seeing how many different versions you want to work on. And as time goes on, you'll have so many different versions of your project. And you'll see some of your most inspirational projects that speak to you the most. Eventually, they'll just have lots of versions.
And they say, wow, you're so organized.
Nah, trust me, I'm not organized at all. And for example, my Suits project, I have the older versions backed up in a hard drive somewhere that I probably lost. I'm all the way up to version 42.
Oh, yeah.
So I think out of all my projects, my Suits project is probably my strongest series. And so one way also I like to do this in Lightroom to keep things edited and sequenced in a way that I like to do.
So if we take a series like Suits,
Yeah. So I'll
what
show
is the final number of pictures
Okay, so
you would say,
let's see
okay,
how
this
many-
is part of the series?
Yeah. So generally, some personal guidelines that I have is if you want to put a photography project on your website or portfolio, I think less is more. I think like 10 to 15 images is pretty good for a web gallery. If you want to do an exhibition, it just depends on how big the space is.
Yeah.
It could be as few as like 4 or 6 photos or as much as like 10, 15, depending on how big it is. If you ever want to do your own magazine or book, 25, 30 images is more than sufficient. I don't know about you guys, I hate buying those huge coffee table photography books, which weigh like 5 million pounds and are like 300 pages, cost like over $100. It's just not very accessible. So yeah, I think when in doubt, less is more. One example I also have is that some of the projects that I've shot that I really like, I've just edited it down to like 3 images. So for example, one of my projects is called Dark Skies Over Tokyo. I just edited it down to 3 photos, which I think are the best. And I think a project could be as few as 3 images. So this is one of my favorites. Another of my favorites. And the last of my favorites. So I feel like all the photos have some sort of darkness.
Itchy. Get your wrist.
No? And anxiety and this intensity. And I think, less is more. Sometimes you just have 3 photos and that's more than enough. But other times you want to use to have more photos to tell a story. So different ways you might do this is, for example, you can see I have in my version 32, I had a new batch of photos. I had about 48 photos in here, which I was considering. And I wasn't sure whether I'd like to choose them and add them to my new project or not. So generally what I do is I use a Mac and I'll keep them organized in these folders. And I'll just kind of drag all these images into Lightroom. And what I'll just do is just add them as a catalog and click import. So I'm importing all these images. And for me, it's just easier for me to flag and choose my images, whether I like them or not. So what I'll generally do is press Command A to select all the images. Also a really cool Adobe Lightroom shortcut I like is while holding the while holding Shift, press Tab. So while you're holding Shift and you press Tab, you automatically collapse all the columns. If you just press Tab, you drop the columns on the left and the right. You press Shift Tab, you collapse all of this. It's very useful, especially if you work on a laptop or a smaller screen. Then I'll just scroll all the way to the bottom, add a new collection, create collection, and let's just say Suits, version, I don't know what this was, 38 or whatever. So I just make a new collection. And the reason why I make a collection is that once you've created a collection, you could actually re-sequence your images, which you cannot do in let's say a normal
normal folder.
So for example, this is like I also worked on a wedding series. Like I photographed my own wedding. So you can see in the normal folder. Actually, no, this might be a collection too. Let's see. Unless they changed this. Oh, they might have. Actually, wait. Let's see. Under my pictures folder. Oh, maybe it's because I edited them. So let's say some photos I've shot recently. Cindy, dog. Yeah. So I took some photos of a dog. So here you can see. Oh, I guess you can. Oh, you can rechange it now. Okay, sorry.
Maybe in the first release.
Oh yeah, maybe in the first release. Oh, good job, Adobe. All right. Anyways, going back to Suits. So you can see all these images I have as these small thumbnails. And generally what I'll do is, first of all, I'll just kind of keep them as small thumbnails and I'll scroll through them.
And Eggy, he will talk about the presets.
I'll talk about the presets.
Step 1, import the photo.
Yeah. And step 1, and then usually with presets, what I could do, I could actually, I'm getting a little bit off track here, but that's what Twitch is all about.
And there was a question, I think. Maybe it was Jason with a with a false nickname.
Okay.
I think, like, do you have an advice to get confidence for street photography with the DSLR?
Okay, just smile and say thank you. Watch the first day's video. You'll see it.
Yeah.
Oh, actually,
Watch a
so
replay.
I'll get back to the suits. So before I forget, I want to show you guys the processing stuff. So I'm just taking out an SD card. I'm plugging into my laptop, so I give you guys a live demo in terms of how I would do things digitally. Yeah. So hopefully I don't have any naked photos of myself. I don't do that too often. Okay. So generally, what I do is by default, you know, I'm not like super sophisticated, but I just have it all importing into my local hard drive. So under, you know, users, Eric Kim, you know,
Okay.
2006.
So you don't put them on Dropbox first?
No.
Okay.
And, you know, don't import. So this is all default. So the key thing to do is under this apply during import box here, check that. And under develop settings, if you want to keep all your images looking consistent, you apply import a preset upon import. So for example, you could choose user preset. And I've created a lot of my own personal presets. There's some black and white ones, there's some color ones, and also I like some of the VSCO ones too. And you could actually download these for free if you Google Eric Kim Lightroom presets. You'll just find them on the Googles. One of the ones that I like with VSCO, my favorite one is the standard Kodak Portra 800 HC. I think this looks fantastic. But let's say if I want to do black and white, I've created some Tri-X black and white film simulation presets. So let's say I use this version 25, and I make different versions because I create new versions as I like them. So I'll just click that, and I'll just click import. And these are some photos I shot at a wedding recently. I don't know why these are re-importing. But anyways, you're importing a bunch of images, and let's say, let's see, where was I? Okay. And let's say, let's pretend these images include this. This is kind of a fun contact sheet. So these are some raw images that I shot in a subway in BART. And these are all with the, let's see, which preset I use. If you go under develop, I think I used, let's see, what did I use? Okay, ooh. So I used the Eric Kim Tri-X 1600 version 22. I thought I made some of these.
And these are presets that you shared, by the way?
Yeah, these are all for free on my blog.
So if you Google search for
Eric Kim
presets.
Lightroom presets is a free download. So you can see I've created all these different versions. You can see the version 25, super high contrast. Version 22 has a little bit more details. And I just kind of create these as I go. And usually I'll try to stay consistent with one, but the problem I have with digital personally is it's hard for me to have a consistent look in digital because I'm always creating new presets. That's why I like shooting film, it always looks the same. But anyways,
oh, I see.
You can see the default image. It's just a raw, this is shot on Digital Ricoh GR, this is just a raw image. And you can see just kind of how flat and uninteresting it is. But upon import, I think on this batch, I used it version 22. And it pretty much looks good. Like there's really not much I would change. And my philosophy is when it comes to editing and post-processing, edit, choosing your best images, spend 90% of your time choosing your best images and only 10% of your time post-processing your images. So out of all these photos, usually what I like to do is look at these as small thumbnails.
Okay.
One thing you could also do is press Shift and Tab to collapse the sides for fewer distractions. What you could also do is press the hotkey L to turn off the lights. So press it once, press it twice. And when you see these as small thumbnails, then you could just, get a better sense of which image looks good. So even seeing these as small thumbnails, these images are a little bit too far away. These images in the top right are a little bit further away too. I kind of like the closeness and the proximity of these two images here. So what I'll just do is I'll double click this. I'll press the hotkey F to full screen it. Oh yeah, I got some good jams in the background.
Someone is asking, in which cases would you spend more than 10% on editing?
Okay, my rule of thumb, if I spend too much time in post-processing, it's probably not a good photograph. And trust me, I'm totally guilty of this myself, is that I take a photo that's like an almost good photograph, and I'm like, if I just add a vignette or increase the sharpening, it'll look a lot more interesting, but it never is. And generally what I'll do is, so I have these two photos, and I don't know which one I like better. So what I'll just do is I'll press the left and right arrows to just do one or two.
Okay.
And I try not to think about it too much. Like the first one, immediately,
it
just felt better. I don't know why. But if I could quantify it more, the second version, the billboard in the top right corner is a bit distracting. His head is too centered. In the first one, I like how his head's a little more to the left. I don't like it how the top of his hat is chopped off. That's a little bit distracting to me. But I'm like, whatever. It's still pretty cool. And I like that look. And if I wanted to post-process this differently, hotkey D to develop. So, if I wanted this in color, I have this like Visco 800 HC, or I've created different versions of that, could add more contrast. I've also made my own Portra presets, which all look pretty decent as well, or the different Tri-X presets. But I tried to stick with one. So let's say with 22. And generally what I do in terms of my post-processing is very minimal. My rule of thumb is I personally try not to crop my photos because I used to be a cropaholic.
Oh, yeah?
Meaning every photo I took out there, I would just crop like a lot to make a better composition. But I've made a rule for myself, more or less the last like 6 years, that I'm not allowed to crop my photos.
Okay.
And if I do, I'm not allowed to crop more than like 5% of it. And I think everything in life, less is more. So I usually don't crop my photos. But if I do, my recommendation is make sure to keep the aspect ratio locked and just kind of drag in the corners a little bit. But sometimes the problem about cropping is that if you overly crop a photo, especially a street photograph, this just doesn't feel as real or authentic. And so, so I'll do that. I usually don't touch any of this. So I'll start off with a preset, and then I'll just adjust the exposure a little bit. It's like, oh, well, looks good. That looks fine. Contrast is bumped up, so I can't touch that. Sometimes you play with the highlights is all 100% down. Play with the shadows a little bit. And honestly, what I'm just doing is I'm just dragging these to the left and right. And it's nothing scientific at all. Just like whatever looks good to my eye. And beware, do not touch the clarity too much, because that goes like, it's a little bit too intense for the most part. So I'll usually keep this at 0. One thing you could also do is in Lightroom, you could actually do a tone curve. And by doing this, you could change. So like by dragging this, you could actually make the shadows look a little bit more gray. You could do that. I usually don't touch this too much, to be honest. The thing that actually is useful is the black and white mix. You could change the tones of his face by dragging the red. And I just kind of go through these one by one if I want to be really, really specific. But honestly, for the most part, I never touch any of this stuff. And I've created, I don't even use really a vignette anymore, and I don't touch any of this stuff. So once again, less is more. So if you could just see, I just more or less will just choose a preset and boom, you're done. And the less time you spend in Lightroom, the more spend you get time shooting.
About cropping, we have a question. So what do you think about cropping a 3:2 aspect ratio to 1:1?
Okay, so whatever aspect ratio you use, just keep it consistent. I prefer a 3:2 aspect ratio because that's the standard. And our eyes are kind of trained to see the world that way and see them as prints. So if you ever wanted to print out like 4:6s, it's easier to keep it as a 2:3 format. One of the mistake I see a lot of photographers make is when they upload photos to social media or the website, within a project, they'll have different aspect ratios.
Okay.
So some of the photos are square crop, some are 3:2, some are like panoramic. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to do square crop, make sure all the photos in the project are square crop. Or if they're all panoramic, make sure they're all panoramic. So it doesn't really matter what you do. Just try to keep it consistent. Or if you want to be super artistic, be consistently inconsistent. So for example, first photo is a square photo, then the next photo is a panoramic photo. Next photo is a square photo, panoramic photo. So there's different ways to do this. And of course, these are all guidelines. There's no rules behind this. But the matter of the fact is, as human beings, we are pattern recognition machines. And people like to see patterns, which kind of gives things coherence and continuity. Any other good questions? Oh, Clifford asks, how do you get the grid overlays? That's actually a fantastic question. So if you want to better judge your compositions, you go under the develop tool, you can press D, and you can press the crop tool. You can either press this here, or the hotkey for crop is R. This is really cool. What you can do is press the hotkey O to change the crop grid overlay. Yeah. So I believe by default it's the rule of thirds. Yeah. What I prefer actually is this other one here. They call this the golden triangle. I learned this from my buddy Adam Morelli. Nice. And usually the reason I like this overlay is that it allows you to visualize more in terms of diagonals, because the problem with rule of thirds, because horizontal lines and vertical lines, it's not as dynamic as a diagonal line. So if you want to immediately make better photos in your street photography, try to incorporate more diagonals into your photos. Even what some photographers do is they'll slightly tilt their cameras a bit or look for natural diagonals. And what you could also do to change the overlay function, while pressing Shift and O, you'll change the orientation of the overlay. Or you could even be like super fancy and have like the Fibonacci spiral, which Cartier-Bresson does a lot. You press Shift and O and see if it fits within the thing. So some people use this as a guideline to cropping. For me, I don't think anyone goes out and shoots and sees the Fibonacci spiral out when you're shooting. If you do, either you're a cyborg or I call BS. My suggestion is use it as like a tool to validate your composition after the fact.
Yeah, because I mean, our eyes are supposed to be trained anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like about cropping and orientation, there was a good question. Yeah, I guess that when they say what about horizontal or vertical, it's more like what about portrait and landscape.
Oh, okay.
So do you feel it before taking the shot? Or?
Yeah. So Joshua, you asked a fantastic question. Horizontal or vertical? So to transition, I'll show you guys some contact sheets. So some behind the scenes photos of some of my favorite photos. So this is an example of a series of images that I shot in New York City. And if you guys are just kind of curious, the default, I shot this on the Digital Ricoh GR. And you know, the default, you know, this is just the raw image. And let's see, what preset did I use? Yeah, I guess I used the 1600 version 17. Anyways, I shot these in New York City, applied the same preset to all the photographs. And when I was shooting on the Ricoh GR, I was shooting raw plus JPEG, and I had high contrast black and white in the back of my LCD screen, which helped me kind of visualize the shot. And the story behind the photograph is me and Cindy were having a sandwich in New York, and we see this bartender waitress, and she's amazing. She's got this wonderful face and these great braids. And what I tried to do is I tried to capture that kind of intensity of her look, and I wasn't quite sure what I'd do. So my suggestion is when you see a good scene, take as many photos of the scene as you humanly can, and often you'll discover the composition while you're shooting.
Okay.
And also, if you have a chance, try to shoot horizontals and verticals if you have time. Also, my personal rule of thumb is if you ask for permission to take photos of somebody, you know, you might take one or two photos and you feel kind of awkward and weird, and you're like, you don't want to bother them, or you kind of want to run away. My suggestion is whenever you feel awkward or weird, try to shoot 25% more. So for example, I saw her hair and I'm like, this makes more sense as a vertical composition because it better shows up her hair. But all the way at the end,
Oh yeah, you switched to.
I stopped and I was like, oh. And then I said, oh, I know I'm bothering you, but can I take a few more shots? And then I switched over to landscape and I started shooting a few more landscapes. And because I wasn't quite sure which one would be the best. So looking through all these photographs, I like this one the most. And I'll show you guys some of my secret sauce, which is always fun. So the original raw file, I believe, let's see. Yeah, I think this is the original raw file. And essentially what I did to post-process this way was I added, I had one of my...
I did some black on the left.
Presets ahead. Okay, so I had like a pretty... Okay, so what I did was, I think I just applied a pretty standard preset. I'm not quite sure which one I used. Probably one of these high contrast ones. So let's say I used this one, a version 12, right? And I pretty much got the shot. And one of the tips too is if you want to make the background darker, it's all about the black slider. But you can still see, even this is at 0, and contrast is here. You can kind of see most of the information is here. So if you just increase the contrast all the way up and drag the blacks all the way down, you kind of blacken the background. And not only that, but what I do when I'm shooting in dramatic light like this with my digital camera is I lower the exposure compensation by like -1 2/3 or -2. So it'll totally blacken out the background or make the subject well lit. There's two different ways you can meter this. Either use spot metering, which I personally don't use. I just keep it default evaluative, and I'll just do the -1, -2 exposure compensation. And based on this, I think what I might have done was, lower the exposure a little bit. And you could see there's like these little things here, these little details here, which I didn't like. Then I just grabbed the adjustment brush, which hotkeys, I think K. Then I just kind of painted these away.
Oh yeah. There is a spot here.
So I just kind of made these a little bit darker. And people are like, oh, Eric, isn't that cheating? I'm like, if I was in the dark room, I probably would have done the same thing anyways.
Yeah. Very easy.
Yeah, and then just click done. And that's pretty much it.
And you worked, a soft touch on the eye, I guess also?
Yeah, and I might have like touched up, changed the brightness on the eye. It's been a while, so I'm not 100% sure what I did in terms of the post-processing. But one thing I love about Lightroom, just whenever in doubt, just hold Command Z and you could undo your photos forever. All right. So is there any questions that people?
They were talking about photography books that inspired you. And what is your favorite photo book?
Oh, that's great. Oh, Indrek asks a good question. How many great photographs should a photographer gather during his lifetime? 5, 50, or 500? If you could just make one memorable photograph after you're dead, you've done your job as a photographer. And one of the best photography books I recommend, it's called Magnum Contact Sheets, which is essentially what I'm showing you guys right now. It shows you some of the most famous photos shot in history and shows you the behind the scenes. I always had the misconception that all these great photographers would only make one photograph of the scene and just get the shot, but in reality, they had to take a lot of different photographs to get the one final shot. And also, of course, you could download my free ebooks. Just Google Eric Kim free ebooks or whatever on Google, and you should download a bunch of them. I've also done a street photography contact sheet book. Yeah.
Cool. Question about when do you use the flash or not use the flash with street portraits?
Oh, so generally by default, I have flash on for street portraits because I think it adds more intensity. The only time I don't use the flash is if there's direct sunlight on them. And this is actually a technique I learned from my buddy Neil Ta is sometimes people think that shooting in direct sunlight is a bad thing, but it just depends on what kind of image you're trying to make. So I think in street photography, where you're trying to create a more raw, visceral image, you could ask your subject to stand intentionally in a very bright background. And then when you have them standing in a bright background, then you could adjust your exposure composition to like -2. And then once again, it'll make the background super black, and only where the light is shining, the exposure is correct, which kind of gives it that really raw format. And whenever you have time, try to do both, because sometimes I don't know whether flash or no flash will work better. So yeah, whenever possible, just kind of shoot both.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good point.
Okay, so sorry, I got a little bit off track. So going back to my suits project. All right, so what I'll do is I'll look through all these images one by one. And generally what I'll do is I'll just make it full screen. And I'll just kind of use the left and right arrows to quickly scan through them. And usually what I'll do is when I'm looking through my images, I'll kind of go through them quickly. And whenever I have a feeling that a photo might be good, a gut feeling, I'll press like P,
P
to pick the photograph. Kind of like this guy, like the way he's mugging and his wife's in the background. And then you can kind of see the second photo I took. This guy's like kind of grinning because he knows I'm taking his photograph. Guy chilling in the car. Oh man, this guy looks really stressed out, huh? All these different photos that I shot, these different people, kind of like this one. All these different suits. And like, I don't think any of these photos actually made it to my final edit. So I just kind of looked through all these photos. And this was all shot on film, by the way. But even if you shoot digital or film, it doesn't really matter. You can still use Lightroom. I still use Lightroom to kind of keep my photos organized. So I'll kind of go scroll through this a few times. I'm like, okay, I like this city card out of his wallet, P. And usually the way I'll filter this is in the bottom right corner under filter, I'll put on filters flagged. And then it'll just kind of show me the top flagged images, or I could unflag them here. And so let's say, you know, I flag these images here, and these are the images that I like. Oops, I guess I unflagged them. What I'll generally do, so let's say I like those. Let's say I liked this photograph. Let's say I liked this photograph.
Someone is asking about the list of projects you have worked on. I guess you can check Eric's website and the portfolio.
And I could show this to you guys later too. So.
And a question from Lester also about the fact that when you want to capture things, we mostly choose photography as a medium instead of video.
You could use whatever tool you feel suits you. For me, I think photography is just an easier medium to work with. I have a lot of respect for people who work with video because it's just way more difficult.
Oh yeah.
So based on this point, you could kind of rearrange your images based on however you like. And once you find an order or a sequence that matters to you, you could just, you know, select all the images, click export.
So why the order is important to you?
Oh, okay. Oh, fantastic question, because the order tells the story. So I'll, after this, I'll show you some of my favorite projects and share the theory behind how I sequence images. So let's say you click export, you choose your folder. I have like a pictures folder. So put in a subfolder. Let's say this is suits version, I don't know, over 10,000. And then what I'll do to make sure this keeps in the right sequence, I'll rename it to...
is asking, how do you get your pictures made with film to Lightroom? So what kind of scanner?
These all also I shot these all on Kodak Portrait 400. Costco, which is a local lab.
Oh, okay.
They just developed and scanned it for me. Otherwise, I'd recommend probably the Epson V700. It's probably the best bang for the buck. And then I'll just kind of have a custom name suits, and it'll automatically export as a sequence. So suits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's an order, and then export it as the originals or whatever you want to do. And once you export it, it shows up correctly in the background. So I've been nerding around Lightroom a little bit too much. I want to show you guys some personal projects. So I'll show you guys the current version of my, man, these gems are pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good jobs, DJ. Yeah. All right. We got some homeboys in the house. Rufus rocking the 1s and 2s. Yeah. All right. So I'll show you guys my suits project. So for you guys who are watching out there, these are some of my, I guess, favorite projects that I've worked so far. So far, my Only in America series is one of my favorites. My Harabaji means grandfather in Korean, that project. My Suits project, The City of Angels in the Old Colony. I think this is the only ones on my website.
Okay.
And also the Cindy project, which I'll show you guys in a bit. But I think less is more. For the longest time, I kept... really think a long time before you want to put a series on your website. For me, it takes me about a year or two before I really decide whether a photo series is good or not.
Okay.
And I'll show you guys my Suits project.
So why? Because you have to take a step back? Or?
Great question. Man, you're so good. It's like you do this for a living. One of the important reasons about waiting a long time, I think at least a year, is because it gives you some sort of emotional distance from your work. So I'm totally guilty of this. I'm out shooting. I take a photograph of a kid in a red umbrella jumping over a puddle. Oh my God, this is the best photo I've ever shot. And then I go home, I post-process it, I upload it online. I'm like, okay, time for me to get like 100 likes. And then I get like 10. I'm like, what the hell? Are you guys idiots? This is like a masterpiece, blah, blah, blah. And then a week or two later, you look at the photo and you're like, that's actually not as great as I remembered it. And then, so I think we do need some time emotionally to distance ourselves from photos to be more objective. One technique I heard writers do, they'll write a novel, lock it in a drawer, then read their own novel a year later and they're like, wow, this was really bad. This is how I want to edit it.
Oh.
Or another good analogy is, so you're French, I assume you like wine?
Yeah.
So if you want a good wine, do you just pop it open and drink it immediately?
Yeah.
Depending on the situation, yeah. Rufus goes hard.
Rufus doesn't really care.
Rufus doesn't really care. Loves the taste. What are you quote supposed to do?
Yeah, you're supposed to leave it open.
Yep.
Maybe 30 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, depending on the.
And what is that process called?
What is the process called?
Decanting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just said more. Oh, cool.
Decanting. So the longer you let your photos decant or you let your wine age in the cellar, generally the better they get. Same thing with I like this. You guys know I like meat. Sorry for the vegetarians out there. I love meat. So what is that process where you take a nice fatty steak and you put all the other stuff in it and you put it in the fridge or whatever? What's that called? If you want
in the freezer? What do you mean?
So you have a steak and then you put like soy sauce in it or salt and pepper, and then you put it in the fridge to sit overnight. What's that called?
Marinating.
Oh,
marinating. Yeah, Rufus. Yeah, he's got my back. Marinating. And generally, the longer you marinate the steak, of course, up to a certain point, it tastes better. Like you put it there for like 10 years, it's probably not gonna taste very good. But I think photography is the same way. And generally, even what I'll do with my photography projects, and this is why I love the internet, old projects I have on my website, photos I used to think are really good, I'll remove them.
Okay.
And even within a project, I'll remove photos. And a good rule of thumb is when in doubt, ditch. So if I look at a photo and I'm like, I'm not sure this is good or not,
if you're
it's
not
not
sure,
a good photo. It's just ditch. Because if it's a really great photo, it should be a pretty obvious decision that it's a good photograph.
Interesting.
But of course, there's some caveats. There are some photos I thought weren't great photographs, but they ended up being good photographs. So another strategy I have is create a folder on your laptop that says like maybes, and keep them synced in Dropbox or whatever, or Adobe Cloud. Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a shout. Put it on your iPad, Lightroom, whatever. Show it to your friends. And if you have a maybes folder, then say, hey, can you look through my maybes and see if there's any hidden gold here? 99% of the time, there's nothing good in there, but every once in a while, you kind of get a hidden gem.
Good.
So can I show you guys my Suits project?
Yes, please.
So for those of you guys who are still just tuning in right now.
And someone was asking about the winners. So for the 10 winners, I will contact you on Twitter. or Instagram, but yeah, or I will find you.
Oh, Lester says, I like how the tablet and the phone on the table extend the green screen. Nice. It's like
I
some
guess
sort of
this.
hacks on the
Reflection.
interwebs. Oh, nice.
It's a reflection. Let's do this.
Oh, okay. We'll do that. So suits project, long story short, worked as a suit, was miserable, felt trapped. Now whenever I see guys in suits, I could feel their pain and misery. So it's all about essentially what I'm trying to say through the project. I'll tell you guys in a second. Look through the project first, all right? So I'll go through these one by one. And this is the sequence I intentionally put it. So maybe Michael, as you look through it, I'll flip through it once or twice, and then you kind of tell me in terms of how you feel in terms of the mood, the sequence, the editing, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So one.
Yeah. Okay. Depressed. Okay. Routine. Okay. Some movement there. Oh, I like this one. That's the one I used in After Effects.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. Whoa.
Maybe,
Oh, is it in Tokyo?
yeah. Oh, maybe going back to this one. What do you like about this shot?
He's so this kind of character like talks to me a lot.
Yeah.
Like I've worked in sales.
Oh, no.
So he had I was consultant for real salespeople like this man. So he has the entire suit, like even the red tie, fixing the tie, the hair is a little bit messy, which is surprising.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But the look, I mean, look at this look.
What kind of look is that?
Oh, yeah. I don't know, like he looks like an actor. He's like very intense and very stressed and a little bit angry. Like he's not super happy of discovering that.
He actually kind of looks like you.
No.
Except I think you're more handsome.
No.
RMAT3US says, if you marinate your sticks, you'll know what's at stake. Nice. Well done, sir. I'll give you a golf clap. That was pretty good.
I
marinated my negatives and stop. That's pretty good. Right? And I'll also show you guys some of the contact sheets of this after the fact too.
Oh, okay.
So this one. This one.
Okay, so yeah, this one, I mean, yeah. I like the fact that I don't know if it's in Tokyo, but the fact that we travel like this.
So suits in different areas.
Yeah.
This one.
This one's suits, but in social life, and then I like the tie. Please don't ruin my suit. I want to have junk food, but.
So you want to hear the story behind this photo?
Yeah.
It's quite a good story. So I see this guy, and I'm going to Potbelly. It's like a Subway in the Midwest. And on the way there, I'm working on my suits project. And when he sees me with his tie over his shoulder, I'm like, that's a perfect gesture, and he's eating a sandwich. And I go to the window, I'm about to take a photograph. And the second he sees me about to take a photograph, he stops eating his sandwich, he puts it down. And then through the mirror, I'm like knocking on the window and say, like saying, take a bite out of the sandwich. And then he's like, okay, shrugs his shoulders and then takes a bite out of it. And then I take a photograph. So this is kind of funny. It's kind of a little bit cheating. Oh, also, sorry, this is totally off course. One of the things Cindy suggested I mention is when you're working on a project, should you have a concept and go out and shoot it, or should you just shoot a bunch of random photos and figure out afterwards? Honestly, you could do either or.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever works best for you. Some photographers I know, street photography, just shoot a bunch of images. Then after a year or so, they'll organize their images and edit down to, I've taken a lot of photos of like old people. Oh, this might be a project. And once they identify that, then they'll continue working on that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, let's say I have a personal experience I want to share, which was the misery after getting laid off. Then I'll intentionally go out and I go, quote, quote, suit hunting. So a good fisherman goes to where the fish are, right? So when I'm in New York City, I'll spend the entire week only in Wall Street.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, then I have a higher hit rate. Multitasking in Tokyo. Yep.
Wall Street, that's your field. Yeah.
This is what happens when you work too much. So
when you marinate.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is when you're working on a photo series, this photo by itself I just uploads to Instagram, people are like, huh? I don't get it. So as a single image, it's not that interesting or strong. But I think within the context of the series, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So know that when you're working on a photo series, not every single photo you upload is going to be a bang, mega hit. Otherwise, it's like a Michael Bay Transformers movie where there's explosions every single second. I think when it comes to a sequence or editing a project, it needs to be a movie. There needs to be dips and high points, low points, boring parts, exciting parts, and there needs to be kind of a rhythm to it. And also when it comes to editing and sequencing, it's kind of more like poetry rather than a calculated art. But one of the best ways to learn more about editing and sequencing and deciding what order to put your images is watch a lot of film. Usually film directors will have an establishing shot, zoom up on the main actor, supporting actor, there's some sort of conflict, then there's some sort of resolution, then there's a climax, and there's some sort of some sort of ending at the end, right?
And actually, this it's funny because I think they were trying to achieve something very peaceful, with nature and stuff, and it looks like an explosion. And for me, when you look at the energy and the shape, it looks like his head is like.
Yeah, and so when you look at this photograph, what is the small cherry on top of the detail you like?
I have one.
What?
Let's wait.
Okay.
I have one.
Yep.
Is it a reflection?
Yep, probably the reflection, yeah. So when I shot this, I saw a reflection of these runway models in a TV running in and out, and I saw her reflection on his shoulder. And so I feel like that's just a small detail that most people probably don't notice, but I think makes it a little more interesting. This one, intense look. This is another good example is when you're shooting street photography. I know it's pretty scary, guys, but if you shoot head on and really close to people, it makes the photos a lot more personal. So this photograph, I'm sitting at a subway stop and I see this great streak of light going over his eyes. And so I was standing behind him and I just walked around him in front of him and took 2 photos really quickly. Then the guy just turned around and just walked away. This photo.
This one in Paris, yeah.
And this is the last photo I have so far in the series.
Okay.
So,
which is like a resignation or
yeah. So
okay, I quit.
So far. Okay. So all you guys out there watching, why do you guys think I decided to use this as a concluding image? What do you think is a symbolism, and what do you think is how would you interpret this photo? So maybe you can start, Michael, while we get the answers rolling in.
Yeah, I mean after knowing your story, I guess it's pretty personal. Like, just like I quit, like I can wear a suit, or it's a kind of gel, or I don't know, something like this. So that's why it would end your journey. Like I quit the business. No more sales.
And what does it look like?
And yeah, maybe he's about to hang himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So Sugar Bao says symbolizes the end of your corporate journey. Krama says
going to hand, yeah. So, someone got
taking off the tie like he's not wearing the suit. What was it? Liberation.
Going to hang.
That's pretty good. Dan 10 says it's your life. Resource says you're gonna tie it to the end. Going to hang. Yep. Looks like Chipman says looks like a noose. Yeah, noose. Yeah, you guys are pretty good. Lester says he's holding it. Looks like he's thinking about it, reflecting. This is gonna make an epic headband. That's pretty good. Yeah. I like that one. Tying up loose. Man, London camera prop. That's good. Tying up loose ends. I see what you did there. Ninja mode engaged. Nice. Yeah. That only works if it's Asian. MT Easy says loosen the noose. That's pretty good. Yeah. So essentially, I see him taking off his necktie. And this photograph, I was actually in Paris. I was in La Défense.
Oh yeah. Which is the business district. So I intentionally made the trip out there. So a guy, after a long day of work, taking off his tie, I just got really close and shot one or two photos with a flash, and I just got this hand gesture. So one of the tips too is when you're working on a project, sometimes not putting people's heads or face into the photograph can make it more interesting. I like to call this the decapitation technique. You intentionally chop off French. People's heads. Yep. Yeah, you guys, isn't your guys national sport rioting? Yeah, it's just too. Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is definitely a strong symbolism of how I felt like, I was gonna hang myself because the corporate life was so depressing. Also, this is like a maybe photo. I probably won't include this. I don't know how that got in there. I just think it's kind of cute. And this is actually my starting photo. Yeah. So for you guys out there watching, why do you think I chose this as a beginning intro photo? Because the two most important photos are always the first photo and the last photo. The first photo is because it's your first impression, and the last photo is because that's generally what sticks most with you. So so for you guys out there on the interwebs and Twitch, why do you guys think I chose this as an intro image? And also, what do you think the photo says to you or makes you feel? So how about you, Michael?
For me, so let's say I'm an exhibition or I get the book and I see suits, so it's okay. It talks about suits, but it could be any kind of angle. It could be a fashion angle, you know, like it could be like a babies in suit.
Yep.
But then here you make it to the point, like you don't like you don't like people in suit. There is something where you lose your humanity, you know.
Oh, yep.
There is no look. There is a fake smile, and he looks like a zombie. You know,
Yep.
to me.
So I'm very ignorant about politics, but this is yeah.
Oh, this is a candidate.
I feel like I don't know if it's a candidate, but I think it's somebody important.
Oh, okay.
It looks like he's wearing. This is shot in London, so looks like he's wearing the transportation badge. Anyways, if anyone out there watching knows anything about the UK,
maybe
you
it's,
guys could write something. But
We have Elsie Finch maybe in the chat.
oh, so
He lives in the UK.
Big Chutbeaks, you're back in the house. I love your username and you. He's behind bars. Clifford Click says he's like the man with no soul, or his soul
His
to the
name is
corporate
Skeletor.
world.
Yeah.
Lester
Yeah,
Kemstra
it's true.
says, look how great I am, but if you look longer, you can feel he is a dead man. Resource says suit is his mask. Oh, that's pretty good. Ooh, his name is Skeletor. Man, we got some good humor up in here.
Yeah.
Nice ones, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. So,
What's up? So Elsie Finch, because you live in the UK.
oh.
Is he a celebrity? Is does he work in politics, or is just a random guy? What do you think? Because you took this shot in London?
I don't know. Oh, Fred, my boy Freddie says, empty eyes say it all. Yeah, so anyways, yeah, to me, it's all about the empty eyes. It's there's a saying, eyes are the windows to the soul. He has no eyes, therefore,
Say that, no soul.
he might have no soul,
Okay.
right? Now, this is so much fun, huh? And so, looking through his eyes, I think it just kind of sets the stage. When I looked at this photo, I was like, when I was shooting this for my project, I saw it. And it doesn't have any people in it, but I think it's a strong symbol of what I felt like, this kind of menacing ghoul. So I took a bunch of photos with this. I think I shot this with a flash in the middle of the day. And yeah, I could just feel like the menacing look, which is a good starting point and
Yeah.
emotion to start out the
A
film.
lot of impact.
So
Yeah, very strong.
So like a good movie, if I'm watching an impact, if I'm watching an action movie, I like it a movie starting with action.
Yeah.
So for example, I recently
You want to
watched.
get in the mood.
Yeah, I watched the movie Creed. Did you watch that? The new Rocky movie?
Oh,
Creed?
yeah.
So you remember the beginning scene? They're in the
what is
juvie
it?
hall, and then the alarm goes off, and then the kids rush over, and the kids start beating each other up.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow. The second I watched that, I want to see the rest of it. And unfortunately, in the real world, people do judge a book by its cover. So any photo series or project you
movie
guys
by,
work on,
yeah,
or poster,
Yeah.
if you had to make sure the first image is interesting and has an impact, or else people won't be incentivized through looking through the next ones.
Interesting.
Nice.
Oh, it's the same on Behance, you know. When you share your portfolio on Behance, the cover is very important because it's the first thing you see.
Ooh, thank you, London Camera Project. Okay, so he's not famous, just a suit. Okay.
Employees
Nice.
of Trust Manila, he's not famous. Okay.
Nice. Dan 10 says, I see what you did there. Panama Games, corporate horror, animated ninja story, who lost his soul. Man, you guys are nice. Wait. LC Finch in the house. Who is this mysterious LC Finch?
Oh, he's the man.
He's the man.
He's the man with the best jokes on Twitch.
The man with a plan. Crap. Okay. So.
Doesn't this break copyright since this is an ad? Good
Oh, that's a good question, Sugar. About I don't know.
there is no brand,
Yeah, that's actually a good question.
but then it's a picture of someone else. Yeah,
I think because perhaps I'm just making this up. I think perhaps because I'm reinterpreting this photo in an artistic way. Like I didn't just
in a public
scan it.
space. Yeah.
I didn't just scan it and just like take this as my photo, but I'm trying to recreate. In America, we call this fair use law. Is that I could reappropriate an art already done, whether that be writing or photography or art. But as long as it's transformative, I'm creating something else. So since I'm putting this in the context of the Suits project, I think this makes a little bit more sense. So this is my Suits project. And when you look through the project, what kind of, for you guys out there watching, like what kind of emotion or soul or feelings did you get through the project? And what kind of emotions did you get through it?
Oh, depression. That was mine.
Why?
Because I see, all these guys, they seem lost, depressed, without life. Like this.
Yeah, and I'll scroll through it one more time. So, and I'll talk while I'm scrolling. So essentially, with this project,
This one.
it's all about hand gestures. It's all about depression. It's all about existential crises. It's all about these guys making a lot of money, losing money in the stock market, alone in coffee shops by themselves, frantic pace of life, stress, anxiety, veins in the hands, New York City cabs in the background. Once again,
You need
kind
to
of
show
the
us the
intensity of
story
look.
behind it.
And then, okay, so you guys want to hear the story behind this one?
Yeah.
So I'm in San Francisco, and also another tip. All these photos you can see are all color, aesthetically similar. This is all shot on a film Leica with 35mm lens and Kodak Portra 400 film. So the images all look pretty consistent. Most of them are shot with a flash. This is the exception, actually.
Okay.
I actually ran out of film for my camera, so I had my Ricoh with me in my pocket, and the light was good, so I started taking a bunch of photos. So I see this guy here texting on his phone.
Texting, yeah.
So I take a photo, click, take a step, photo, click, take a step closer, click, and then I hold the camera up, wait for him to look up. Once he makes eye contact,
Boom.
I take a photo,
Okay.
and then he looks at me, giving me like a WTF look. And then after that, I take a step forward and I pretend like I'm shooting the Starbucks behind him. And if you guys want to see the contact sheet?
Yeah.
So I actually have the contact sheet here as well.
Which is a classic, you
Oh, yeah.
you shoot Starbucks like every day.
Oh yeah,
So
I love the.
it's a classic picture.
So this is actually the contact sheet. So how many photos did I shoot? 6 photos. So the first photo you can see I'm kind of shooting it from a distance. Take a step closer, click. Third frame, he's kind of doing an interesting hand gesture with his hands in his hair. Click.
The third is good.
Fourth photo, click. Yeah, that one's pretty good too. The fifth photo, he kind of notices my presence and he looks at me. And so when I'm shooting
You
candidly,
don't stop.
I'll just keep clicking and getting closer and wait for them to look at me. And then once you get the eye contact, that's kind of what makes the shot.
Just a
Yeah.
guy walking in San Francisco. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you can say you work for Google Maps.
Yeah, I
Google
gotta say.
Google Street View.
Mad Hatter, you're also right. This is why wide angles are awesome, because they don't know how narrow you are. I shot this with a 28mm lens, so he can't really tell that I'm photographing him. He's assuming I'm photographing something behind him. And essentially they made that
With a
photo.
20mm lens.
Yeah. And these are the rest of the photos. So one of the things I want to transition into talking about the presentation on working on projects is, let's see. Yeah. Good timing. How to come up with a project idea. And one of the questions I want to ask you guys too is also like why work on a project? Because it's a legitimate question. Like why not just go out and take a bunch of random photos on the street, upload them to Instagram once a day, keep the stream going, and keep your viewers happy. So for you guys out there watching, you guys are probably interested in finding your style or honing your vision or working on a project. Why work on a project versus single images that are kind of random and not strung together? So guys, leave your thoughts in the chat box. I'd love to hear your feedback. And what do you think, Michael? Why work on a project?
As we said, I think it will make your point stronger to work on a series. Also, it's usually you take time also. Like, it's not like because one picture, it's one place, one time. When with a project like a series, you can make a point. Like what I like in the shoot series is that you can feel the same depression in New York, in Tokyo. It's global. It's global. So I think it will make your point stronger.
Definitely. So Mad Mip says projects make you better, master what you love. And Elsie Finch says, projects have a hype around them. Like I did this, I want to see more of this. Tacit Meow says gives you a focus and a tangible goal. Joshua Vela says it's important to have a voice, otherwise it's just kind of messed up. Friedrichsen, all right, Midnight in Europe, get some sleep. Thanks for joining. Sugar Bao says gaining focus, building a story. Yeah. So Elsie Finch also says a single is good, but an album is great. Yeah, exactly. You love music?
Yeah.
I love music too. How do you feel about like top 40 hits on the radio? It's kind of like, can you really tell the artist, the musician's story,
with
what
one
you're trying to say
single?
with the album
No.
with just a single image?
No.
Unfortunately, we live in a world where it is all about the hit singles nowadays, and especially with Spotify and playlists, it's all about singles. But for me, I love to listen to the entire album in the sequence the artist intended.
Okay.
Because with a project, with a single image, it's kind of like a single chapter in a book. One chapter could be fantastic, but if you want to read Harry Potter, you obviously want lots of different chapters, and you want a certain cadence, a certain flow. So working on a project, I think, kind of gives you more focus and gives you more chances to tell a story. And Also, it comes down to you don't have to work on a project. I think there's also a bias that, only serious photographers work on projects and only newbies just upload stuff to Instagram. It just kind of comes down to what helps you express your self-creativity. Yeah. My personal story is that when I was working on single images, it was just uploading single images to the internet to get a lot of likes and shares and comments and stuff like that. After a while, I kind of felt empty inside my heart and soul. And I'm like, I feel like I'm being restricted. I need to work on something else. And then I started studying other people's photography books and seeing what kind of series they worked on. And while a single image was powerful, seeing lots of different single images strung together in a story and narrative was so much more powerful. One analogy I heard is that imagine a photography project like pearls and a necklace. Every single image in your photo series is like a pearl.
Okay.
A pearl by itself is beautiful, but if you string the pearls together and you make a beautiful necklace out of it, then it just kind of finishes the whole look. And it makes it even that much more powerful. And one of the question, it looks like we got some vinyl album love. Yep, don't listen to top 20 hits and looking for variations. And Hedol Jung says a project helps me to take photos even though I don't want to and when I'm lacking inspiration. So yeah, definitely working on a project I think is important because it kind of gives you that chance to say something bigger. So let's transition a little bit. So thank you guys so much for sharing. So if you guys have a moment, check out the hashtag Adobe Live and share some of your street photos that you guys want feedback or critique on. We will put on the grams too, Instagram. Uber Duper says, we all love the look of a pearl necklace. Go on Urban Dictionary if you guys don't know what that means. Right?
You want to review some pictures?
I would love to review some photos.
Okay, let's do that.
Right? Well, that's pretty good.
Are we live? Yeah. Okay.
Hagish, the top one there.
So I think Hagish was saying that he's about to have an exhibition, so he wanted some feedback.
Oh, sick. Okay.
Yeah.
So, zoom in. Okay, Hagish, I can already tell, yeah, you're good. Sometimes you could just look at one photo and you could tell the photographer kind of knows what they're doing. One thing I would just suggest, take out the watermark in the bottom left corner. It's a bit distracting. But yeah, you can see definitely great light in this photo, a lot of different movement, different characters in the scene, good spacing between them. One suggestion is the background's a little bit, nothing you could really do, but there's not enough, they call this figure to ground in art is the separation between the subject and the background. So while I do love the father giving the necky ride to the kid, they kind of get a little bit lost in the background. However, you still have the woman on the left with her hands on the hips, girl walking the center of the frame with a V in her feet, the guy holding up the kid on high. So it kind of gives it height. Then the kid in the bottom right corner bending over. Then it looks like you have like a Saturn or a planet in the right side of the frame.
Yeah.
So, and also a woman in the top left corner. Yeah, and the woman in the top left corner, she's pretty good. Yeah, so she's kind of the cherry on top. So if you could use your thing, you could kind of draw a squiggle here, so it kind of gives the image a good flow. That's pretty strong. Yeah, I think it's a strong image. All right, some other photos. What was that?
Zlato on Flickr.
Full screen that? Okay, interesting. Okay. First of all, you see this as an abstract image. Immediately it's pretty interesting. Okay, problem. The eye is always drawn to the area of the highest contrast. Okay. In this photograph, Michael, what is the area of the highest contrast?
Here.
Yeah. But what is the subject?
The girl.
In a perfect world, where would you want the girl?
Here.
Exactly. So sometimes there's just like nothing you can't do. You can't just be like to the girl, hey, run into that shadow light thing there, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of visually,
you would like do something like this.
Yeah, maybe if you photographed it like that could have made more sense. But yeah, so I kind of know what you're kind of going for, but I think visually it doesn't really work because the lack of focus in terms of the girl and the competing look of the light there.
The
right, check some more on the Twitters.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a
Marcelo.
little strip. Oh. Okay, looks like I shot that in front. What I immediately love about the shot is I love the hand gesture, the intensity of his look in his face. And I think maybe if you just add a little bit of contrast, it could have made this a little bit more strong. But for the most part, I think it's a pretty strong shot. You're pretty close. You framed it quite tightly. What I might zoom it up again. What I might do differently is it's good, but I feel like it's missing the cherry on top, like a small little detail, which
detail.
could have made this like a really great photograph. I don't know what that is. Maybe if it was a reflection of a kid in the mirror or a small little detail like that, then it'll be like a juxtaposition between the old man and the kid, and it's like tells another story. So I think it's a good shot. But look for the cherry on top. No problem, Hagish. Good stuff.
Still Marcelo. Oh, Joshua.
Okay, so looking at this photo, a lot of stuff going on, and maybe this photo, if this was about like a transportation series, this could be a good like filler image, an image in between that could show how crazy riding a bus is. Oh, one of you guys asked earlier how to know whether to keep a weak photo or not, but if it's in the context of the series. Fantastic question. I think for the most part, if possible, every photo should be able to stand apart on its own, even without context. And if you put it in the context of the project, it's still pretty strong. So if an image is really, really weak, just don't put it in the project. But the image could still be like there's like weak, okay, good, very good, great. Maybe if it's in between excellent and very good, but you want to use it more as a filler image, then I think in that context
Or
it works.
transition.
Yeah, or a transition image. But I feel like this photo, it just doesn't have enough focus where my eye could be have a visual anchor, because I think every single successful image has at least one point of focus, which makes the viewer interested.
I feel it's hard to read.
It's a little bit hard to read, a little bit too much going
because
on.
something's happening here. Something crazy, but we don't feel...
What could have worked? If you had a crowd of people, if one person's turning back looking at you, the photographer, then the photo could have worked.
Oh. Interesting. Wow, look at that.
Oh, this guy's pretty
Alright.
pimp.
Whoa.
Oh, I like him. I love the
Shoes.
cross leg, nice background. No smoking. It looks like he's smoking. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's just lacking a bit of contrast. Maybe next time using a flash or seeing in like Lightroom, you could bump out the contrast a bit. But yeah, I dig this one. This is pretty sweet. I wish it could be like that one day. Nice.
Someone is hanging it on the wall.
Oh, sick. Nice. Good job, Jimmy. Thanks a lot, bro. What else we got?
Okay, maybe one more by Slide.
Oh, my buddy Bertrand.
Oh, Bertrand.
Bert, what's up, man? Thanks for sharing.
Oh.
Okay, also Bert, I'm gonna chastise you. Take away the copyrights.
Oh my God,
All right?
Bertrand.
And then people are saying, oh, if you don't put this, people are gonna steal your images. If people steal your images, consider a compliment, because people could screenshot anyways. All right, so looking at this shot, I think this is a classic moment. I love the sign on the top that looks like an old classic Coca-Cola sign. I think there's just
It's
a little
painted
bit
on the glass.
I think that's interesting. I think there's just too much negative space on the left side at the bottom of the frame. So zoom in a little bit more, Michael. Yeah, and do up a little bit more so you can see the top of the frame more. Yeah, so maybe like something like this. I think less is more. Always consider the edges of the frame that you don't have any distractions. But yeah, I like this moment. It's a simple, everyday life. Good gesture from the guy. I like the sign, but I still feel like this is missing cherry on top. I don't really know what it is. Maybe if the guy was holding a French fry, that could have been the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just go on Adobe stock. Download the French fry.
It's just don't tell us, but keep up the good word, Bert. What else we got?
Someone is asking, is this you, Eric?
Oh, is this me? Oh, sick. Okay. Hey, put on the GoPro real quick. Let's see if I can do this.
Okay. GoPro.
Okay. Got a good view on me?
Oh,
Okay.
almost.
I held it for like a second.
So close.
Oh, my shoulders. Okay. Oh, I think I might have torn something.
Yeah, we heard.
It's okay. At least, okay. So this is the trick. You hold it for half a second, and then you think, then you take a photo, and people are like, "Oh yeah, he held that for like 2 minutes." All right, I'll do a few more acrobatics a little bit later. Maybe.
So
me.
this is not you.
Okay, so that's not me. But yeah, I think, okay, so look, just critiquing this photo. Yeah, good framing. I like the Mickey Mouse ears in the top right corner. Generally, I don't like to take photos like street performers because it's just a little bit too easy and not that interesting to me. I think the photograph, you photographed it well, but I think generally it's better to take an extraordinary photo of an ordinary person rather than an ordinary photo of an extraordinary person, which this guy is. Which one is that?
Like Kevin.
All right. Okay, so this is a good example. I used to do this type of photography a lot. You look for an interesting background or a mural and wait for people to walk by it. I think it works, Kevin, in the sense that, yeah, like she's putting down her finger, there's a magnifying glass, and I kind of see what you're getting at. The issue with this photograph is it's very easy to replicate, that anyone could have taken this photograph, just wait for the right person to come into the shot. I think if you wanted to make your photo a little more unique, think about how you could add your own little special sauce to it. Like, not to just take art in the real world and just reinterpret it in a very simple way. And trust me, I used to do this a lot, but I think if you really wanted to take it to the next level, think about like, you know, if maybe there's an airplane coming in the background or a kid doing like a backflip or, you know, something like that. But nowadays, I'm less interested in street photography with people walking by billboards. I'm more about capturing gestures, capturing emotions, capturing mood. So it's more of a real, gritty, visceral feel rather than a funny joke with a background. And trust me, I used to do this a lot, but yeah.
Interesting.
Sugar Bao says, chucking away all my street performer shots. And trust me, guys, I'm guilty of all this too. I used to shoot with like an 18 to 200 Sigma lens, shoot tons of street performers and homeless people. Yeah. Oh, so Mad Hatter said he wasn't a street performer, he was a dance party. Just an attendee. Yeah, so I think you captured it pretty well, but at the same time, it's just, I think to me as a viewer, it's like not that interesting. And this is also very subjective.
So we have some on Instagram too.
Oh, interesting.
One by
Okay.
Joseph.
So I love the guy in the suit. Nice one. I like the chains. It's kind of a juxtaposition between, you know, maybe old rich dude and money and stuff. I think there's just too much dead space on the top of the frame. And looking at this man, yeah, so if you just frame this a little bit lower and a little bit less dead space on the top, and maybe if there was a poster of a woman's face or something, then maybe be a bit stronger. So keep working at it.
There is one you want to see?
Let me scroll up on top.
These are the two.
Down. Kind of like this one. That one. So we'll take a look at that one. So museums are a good place to shoot. I like the silhouette and the paintings in the background. So the composition's pretty nice, nicely in lines. But once again, how can you take it to the next level? And one way you could make this a little bit stronger is putting in capturing a hand gesture. Maybe if somehow she's interacting with the paintings in some unique way. But yeah, it's tricky because we're all inspired by photos we've already seen and trying to put our own unique spin on it. So I've seen a similar shot like this many times before. So always think to yourself, okay, it could be a photo that's already been shot before, or it could be a cliche, but how can I take this to the next level and introduce something new that hasn't quite been done before? And it can be very, very subtle, right? Like some of the great artists are the ones who reinterpret great works in the past, but once again, have added a little bit more something. And once again, art is all subjective at the end of the day. But yeah, let's continue.
And I have a question. What is the difference between dead space and negative space?
Okay, so Clifford, great question. What's the difference between dead space and negative space? I think it's all about intentionality. Meaning, dead space is perhaps you just didn't have enough confidence to get really close to your subjects and fill the frame with them. Negative space is more, I want to give this negative space intentionally to allow my subject to have more breathing room.
Okay. So it's on purpose.
So it's on purpose. So different ways you could do this. So I think negative space works well if there's one really, really strong focal point. Like, so if you had one eye glowing out from the background. So like the photo of the lady I had with braids and the one eye, I think that's a good example of negative space. Another good example of negative space is if you're shooting a portrait of somebody, sometimes just having a clean white background and them against that works, because by having fewer distractions in the photo, you could put more emphasis on the subject. But in terms of how much negative space to put or not, it has a lot to do with composition. So there's different concepts in composition. I mean, a good rule of thirds is always a good default. There's a lot more people who do much more complex stuff, but that's like a good just barrier thing. But for me, it's the easiest way is go on YouTube, search like Eric Kim street photography composition, and I have a composition lesson on the golden triangle, and that could explain this more in depth later. Oh, that's pretty good. Zoom in on that. Okay, so what I love about this shot is I love the hand gesture, the diagonal with the arm, and the guy curling around the background, and the the words on the top. And what I love about that is that, yeah, it's so good. Like his hand with the diagonal, the hand gesture on the chin. Yeah, then the guy, and the text perfectly over the guy's back.
Yeah.
And then even like the lemons, the top left corner. This is a fantastic photograph. It's actually probably one of my favorite photos I've seen throughout this entire stream. So awesome shot, man.
Good job. And
Oh, John. At JNCDRS. Judge me, Eric. Bet you won't. Oh, let's do it. He's challenging me. Oh, so I'll do this one first.
this was the one.
Oh, which we already did that one.
Yeah, that's the one we just saw.
Oh,
Gen
yeah.
CDRS.
Dude, yeah, John, you got confidence because you know you're good. I like it. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Okay, Reina. Generally, I see a good guideline is try not to shoot the back of people's heads because it doesn't show as much emotion. However, there's always exceptions and caveats. This is a fantastic shot in the back of the head because you have all this crazy hair coming and all the different movement, the wind blowing her hand. The little sliver of white on the far left of the frame is just a little bit distracting. It doesn't really add much to the frame. But yeah, I think, that's like a very small minor thing. I think this is also a fantastic shot. This one's like one of the best hair shots I've seen. It's like, man, like, I didn't know people's hairs could look like that.
Yeah, looks like an octopus.
John Quadro says, thanks, dude. Thanks to you back. Yeah, pretty awesome. So PMM images, insight into my workshops. This is the time I can do some self-promo. Yeah, so generally, all the information you know about street photography is all essentially for free on my blog, and my inspiration is to give away knowledge for free. Workshops are a good way to build your confidence in person, to get honest feedback and critique with me one-on-one. It's also how I make my living, fortunately. So, going to the workshop is a chance to A, support me, B, meet other passionate street photographers, and 3,
make connections.
To get special, to make connections, but also to get personal one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like the difference between watching
A video.
watching yoga videos on YouTube versus going to a yoga class. Right, Cindy? Like, you go to a yoga class, you're more inspired, there's other people around there. You technically don't need to go. So, like, once again, you don't have to come to my workshops, whatever, but if you want to travel, come to a new place, and sometimes I think intensive 2-day workshop could just really help accelerate your learning process. Like, I wish I attended a workshop when I was starting off in photography. It could have been a good shortcut for me to learn a lot more concepts. Okay. Ooh, so Neil is submitting one? Okay, so for you guys who don't know, Neil's my good friend. He also shot my wedding. Made some amazing wedding photos. neilta.ca is also my manager. So one of the feedbacks I'll get from Neil. So what I like about the shot, he shot this during golden hour. I love the blue in the sky against the golden yellow. I like the diagonal and the curve of the building that goes up. The good cherry on top is you have a subject in the top right corner and the little streak of sky coming out of that person. You also have 2 people in the bottom left corner, which kind of go with the shadow. And then you have the guy in the bottom right turning towards it. And then you also have the girl moving towards the viewer. For me, I don't think this is one of your best shots, Neil. Is the reason the critique I would give in the feedback is that the guy in the bottom right corner and the woman in the bottom right corner, I wish they had some sort of more of an interaction or a moment. He looks like he's kind of looking away and she's kind of looking away, and you're like, yeah, maybe it looks like they're having an argument, but to me, their body language isn't expressive enough that they're having an argument. Sure, the girl is, putting her arms together like that, but I would have preferred it maybe if they're staring at each other more intensely and having more of an intense hand gesture and argument with each other. And also with these kind of Alex Webby shots, I wish there was something in the top left side of the corner of the frame. It's a little bit empty. So I think I think it's a good shot, but you've definitely taken a lot stronger shots. So this is also the difficult thing in photography, is that it could be a good shot, but how good do you want your shots to be, and which of your photos do you want to share? But yeah, so a good one. I like it head on. You have his head in the white space, which is good figure to ground.
That's what you were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, because you have a darker figure against a white background. He's holding a water ball. He's looking at you. So it's good intensity behind it, but he's not really doing anything. And his face, while it's pretty stern, it's not interesting enough for me to say anything more. So once again, if this had a cherry on top, this could have been a little more interesting. Oh, Evil Cerise says, do you do some freestyle during the workshops too? Actually, I've never done that ever. And there's a lot of pressure for me to freestyle or breakdance on screen because it's live and it'll be recorded to the interwebs forever. But maybe if I'm feeling in the mood, I'll do one at the end. Oh, you're welcome, Neil. Yeah, Neil, just thank you also so much for your support on my photos. Often, when I want to get my photos critiqued, I'll send them to Neil, or I'll ask Cindy or my buddy Josh or all my other buddies on the internet. One of my best suggestions for getting a critique on your work: don't upload them and expect people to critique it.
Okay.
Upload to Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and in the caption say, "Please kill my baby," or "Please give me a constructive critique." I'd appreciate it. And then if nobody does that, then you go to other people's photos and in a nice way, give them at least a 3 or 4 sentence feedback and critique. And this is a good way to build some sort of good vibes. Otherwise, it's best to send a Facebook message or WhatsApp or a direct message to somebody with like an image saying, "Hey bro, can you help me kill my baby or give me some feedback in it?" Or send 5 or 6 photos to your friends, say, "Which one of these do you like?" And then I'll just save the ones of my friends that I'll like, and I'll just resend it to them. Or if you want to keep it really simple, just send a photo or online to social media, or send to your friends, say "keep or ditch?" ? And usually people are actually pretty honest about it. And not to say that's the best barometer to tell whether a shot works or not, but it's like, honestly, people are pretty good when it comes to this kind of things. So Neil says, thought it was more about the mood of the weather with the 2 subject with wind-blown hair and the lady who's feeling miserable. I could see that. I feel that the weather just looks too beautiful for there to be a miserable mood. So maybe if it was more drama in the sky or something like that. Oh, Yurik. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Please kill my babies at Yuri Raisin.
Oh, there is a vote here.
Oh, what's the vote?
About what you said. If someone is stealing your image, consider it as a compliment. Do you agree or not? Twitter disagree. Oh,
that's a good one. The Twitters. Okay.
Tweeters.
Okay, so go to Yuri Razin.
How many answers though?
16.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So you want to Frames of Life project.
Okay. All right, so we'll just look at this one real quick, then we'll look at Yuri Razin afterwards. But let's look at this project. This is kind of interesting.
And which one is after?
Yuri Razin on Instagram afterwards.
Yuri Razin.
Because he asked, "Please kill my babies." Nice one.
Yeah.
Looks like you're paying attention to the workshop. So nice one on you.
Oh, it doesn't load. Sorry.
Click it again.
Sorry, Maya.
All right, maybe you just refresh it or something.
Yeah, or she changed the tag.
Oh, going back to the Twitters. Okay, and then Thomas, I'll critique your photos.
Yuri. Okay.
Too. Oh yeah, Yuri. Okay, I know Yuri. He's my homeboy on the interwebs. Okay, so let's just choose the last photo. And remember, you're only as good as your last photo.
Nice.
Okay, so like the drama between the lights and the shadows and left and right, this could have been really, really killer if you had people on the right side also moving down.
Yeah.
And the people walking up the stairs, generally with these kind of photos, I like just one person walking up the stairs because it's just a little bit more simple and minimalist. And maybe if you waited for a guy in a top hat, this could have been a little more interesting. But yeah, just be more patient, is kind of keep at it. Oh, Sugarba asks a good question. How do you deal with people who are defensive about critique? Will you avoid critiquing them again? The best way is to preface it, say, "Hey, I'm not trying to poop on your photos, but I'm just giving you this feedback because I appreciate your work and I want to give you some constructive critique," and then continue to give a really honest critique. And then usually people appreciate it. But then there are some people with egos who don't want any feedback. And if they say, screw off, then just say, "Hey, sorry, I didn't intend to. I just want to show you some love," and then just move on.
Or ban you from their social.
Or ban them from all your social networks. Nice.
So now this is Thomas also coming from the chat asking, "Kill my babies, please."
Okay.
So he wants you to kill the babies.
Okay. Well, okay. So Thomas, so click the last one. Zoom in. Okay, so Thomas. Once again, the background's a little bit too messy. There's not enough focus on a single subject. I assume it's the girl on the far left. Visually, if she was in the center with the 2 guys walking by her, that would have been a little stronger. Let's go to one of his next photos real quick. Because Thomas has been asked some good questions. Oh, zoom in. This one looks better. I like this one. Zoom in. Okay, so this one's a little bit better because I like the interaction, the moment that the dad and the kid are having the far left. More depth, this kid's and the mom walking straight towards you. I like the signs on the top of the frame. Still a little bit on the messy side, but I do like how there's lots of different stories within the frame. We'll just choose one more from Thomas. Zoom in. Upset old lady looking at you. Yeah, so it's good eye gesture and contact, but I feel like it's not really saying much. It's like she's like, "Oh, I'm kind of having a bad day," looking at you, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, keep at it, Thomas. Just try to simplify and clean up your backgrounds. A good way you could do that is when you're walking down the sidewalk, stand near the curb and shoot towards the storefronts and try to get simple, clean backgrounds, or crouch down super low and look shooting ups. Chimin asks, opinion of taking pictures of strangers while they're eating. My suggestion is, I think that's fine. I mean, I do it. Oh, Loli says, I saw your video with Kai. So if you guys have never seen that video on YouTube, search Eric Kim Digital Rev. You'll see me in a pirate suit. It's a lot of fun. Hi, 2Chain says, Eric, refresh the Twitter hashtag. I might have a pic of a person you might know. Oh, that's interesting. Can you refresh it?
Yeah,
quick?
it's refreshed.
That's Sasha? Is that him?
Sasha Kor.
Oh, I think that's my buddy Peter. I think that's him.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah, I think that's my buddy Peter. Small world. Wait, let's refresh it. I don't know if that's him. Let's refresh it. See if there's anyone else. Scroll on top. Scroll down. Any faces? Ooh, I like that one. Lady with the red
your
hair.
ex?
Oh, that's my ex. I love the perspective. I love the simple, clean sky. I love the orange. I love the pearl necklace. Oh, that's good. Yeah. What could have made this a little bit stronger if there was a hand gesture in the photo? It would be nice. Hi, 2Chains. Who are you? You probably.
Oh, it is Peter.
It is Peter. Oh, Brandon. Neil knows Brandon. Yeah, it's his. Peter is Brandon. He's one of my buddy's younger brothers. Oh, Sugar Bow asks, "What's it like being on Digital Rev?" It was awesome. Kai is as potty mouth and British humor as much. I love the dude. He's like the brother. He's just like another Asian version of me, but he's got more witty British humor. But yeah, I had a ton of fun. It's like I get hyped up when I'm doing these live things. But yeah, I think the thing that surprised me about Kai was he has his onstage personality, obviously, but I think in real life he's actually pretty calm and reserved and quite a quiet guy.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see his onstage personality versus his offstage personality. In real life, I'm pretty kind of hyper like this too, only when I'm around other people. But when I'm at home by myself, I'm usually just pretty quiet, reading books and being miserable about life. So Big Chutbeaks asks, where do you draw the line between post-processing, compositing, photo manipulating an image, removing overlapping shape, for instance? Isn't the line you draw always going to be arbitrary? Yes, that is true. There are your personal rules for yourself, and there's also conventions. Within the genre of street photography, it's highly frowned upon to composite things out of a photo, yet it is okay, I guess, in a black and white image to dodge and burn images. So I mean, ultimately just kind of follow what feels ethically right to you. So Steve McCurry manipulating things out of his photos, he never says anything, so people assume that it's just candid photos of reality, and that kind of takes away a bit of the magic. But if Steve McCurry has recently said, I'm not a photographer, I'm a visual storyteller or something. Okay, so yeah. If he publicly admits that he photoshops his images and he presents his images, that I think that's totally fine, because that shows some sort of authenticity. Yeah, and it's just being about, I think it's about transparency, you know? And
do you think that a picture can represent reality?
I think a picture is always a representation of reality. It's not reality itself, because, for example, I'll give a good example. So let's say I was doing a photography workshop, and I shot a portrait of one person and I just upload to the internet saying, hey, workshop attendees, right? And then people are like, wow, you know, your workshops must suck because there's only one person who showed up. But the photograph is all about deciding what not to include in the frame. Yeah. So if I wanted to show a little bit more of objective reality, I'd put on a fisheye and just, you know, you see a little bit of everything. But if you photograph everything and have no focus on what's interesting, photograph is not very interesting at all. So yeah, I would say it's just focusing on the details which are important. Yeah, and then let's just do one or two more, and then I want to do a little bit more of the presentation.
So one more by Bram.
Okay. Oh, Bram, nice one. So it looks like you shot this at an airport. You're having like a meal or a drink across these two people. I love the tension between the man on the right and the woman on the left, her looking to the side with the wine. And there's some sort of story you could tell in between them. My critique would be there's just not enough contrast on them, because the only way you could do this is essentially use a flash. And if you're not courageous enough to use a flash, you don't want to disturb it, you can't really do anything about it. Not much you could really do it with post, but I still think the woman on the left is more interesting than the man on the right. So I would have just not photographed the guy on the right, just photographed the woman on the left with the hands on the table in kind of that pensive move. Not a big fan of the people growing out of her shoulder and the things around her head. But yeah, otherwise, I think it tells a pretty good story. Sugar Bao says, do you think VR will play a role in the future of street photography? I'm sure. Yeah, why not? Like, I'll strap 2 GoPros to my head, do some VR, but I think it's a bit early. Who knows? I might experiment with that on the future. Yeah.
So it's part of one project.
Okay.
Frames of Life. By
Oh, so
Maya.
what are the scroll through the shots, Maya?
Yeah,
Well, this is the
one,
last one we'll do, maybe.
2,
Yep.
and 3.
Okay. Frames of life. So go through again. 1. So Vietnam, maybe in America. Then what's the last?
Downtown Jacksonville.
Okay, Jacksonville, and the last one. Jacksonville. Okay. I like the idea of frames of life. I think it's a little bit too broad as a concept. I would just do like a people of Jacksonville project, or just a Jacksonville project, because having a photo of a person in a rice paddy hat, I assume it's Vietnam. Go back to the first one.
Maybe not.
It might not be, honestly, but is it? It says where? Oh, Jacksonville. Okay. Yeah, so I assume this is Jacksonville, but if I didn't see the caption and I look at the photo, I just kind of assume that it's a person in Vietnam on a motorbike. So visually, it's not consistent enough. Going back to the second photo. Yeah, I kind of like the mood and the optimism. I like the leading lines, this woman here. I would like to see more, maybe I would call this an environmental portrait. More environmental portraits of your project where people are looking at you, they're posing, showing their hand gestures, unique perspectives like shooting down, looking up. And yeah, I think this would be a pretty strong project. So I would recommend focusing on that. Nice. Loli asks, what percentage of a project would you consider junk when you go on a day of street photography? 99.9%. For me, if I can make one street photograph a month I'm happy with, I'm doing really well. One great street photograph a year, then I'm really happy. Sugar Bell also asks, how would you like to incorporate graffiti? I would just say it should just be a small detail in the background. I don't think graffiti should be the focus of your photograph. Otherwise, you're relying too much on the graffiti to make an interesting photograph than anything else.
It's not your work. Yeah.
Okay. So, so thank you so much for you guys watching. We got 30 more minutes left. I'll talk a little more about projects. Thank you so much for the love, and keep the comments coming, because we have a huge monitor in front. We're reading all of them as you go. So how do I come up with some of my projects? So transitioning, there's different ways you could do it, whether in street photography or even personal photography, which I will define as photos that are just personal to yourself. It could just be anything. I think the best projects are the ones that somehow incorporate your own life story. So for example, in my Suits project, I used to work corporate. It made me feel miserable, and now I can feel the pain and misery of other people. Another project, it could be just major life events. Things that are very personally meaningful to you, and they might not be meaningful to other people, but one quote that I got from my buddy Vincent Tam is, the more personal your photos, the more universal your photos. Meaning, the more personal you make your photos, the more universally people could feel the emotion in your photos. So for example, I think death is something we're all afraid of, and something we have all experienced one way or another in our lives. And while this is not really quote unquote street photography, this is more of a personal project. And to draw the line between street photos and personal photos, generally street photos are people you don't really know shooting in public, and personal photos might be more people you know, or they could be people that are in the outside. So one of the projects I want to share with you guys is my grandfather series. So it's a project very close to my heart. Also called my Hadabaji project, which means Korean and which means grandfather in Korean. What happened was, I was in Michigan with Cindy. I got a phone call from my mom saying, your grandfather just passed away. You need to come to Korea immediately for a funeral. I'm like, oh my God. And I didn't really know my grandfather all that well. So I wanted to use photography as a tool for me to somehow connect with him on a deeper meaning. So at the time, I had a film camera, a Ricoh GR1V camera, and my buddy Hiroaki gave me a bunch of black and white film. It was a Neopan 400, and I brought, I think, 8 rolls of that with me on my trip. And I'll say, okay, I'm gonna document this experience for my grandfather's funeral. I didn't really know what I was gonna do, but I say I'm gonna limit myself to 8 rolls of film. So I jump on a plane and I'm documenting the entire project. And let me first show you the series. So this is the first image. Okay, so I'll narrate it. Our family's Catholic, so these are not always in chronological order. So when you're working on a project, don't always feel like you had to put the images in some sort of chronological order. So this is actually at the very, very end when we're in church praying for him. So I thought this would be a strong image. You know, you kind of have the dove and the light coming in Jesus. Because our family is quite religious, I thought this would be a strong image to start off to show the personality behind it. This is one photograph where, and when you're working on a project, work on detail shots as well. So this is actually his hospice care, his bed, before he passed away, and this is his lasting days. This is just a portrait of him on the wall.
Okay.
And what I love about it is just the small details. In the bottom right corner, you got the eye checking, so he checked his vision. And, you know, he passed away at a good age. He was like 92, so he lived a nice long life. Jumping in, so during his funeral, Korean tradition is, so in the background, his body's actually inside the casket, so the entire family sleeps in the same room as him.
Oh.
And stay up all night.
During the whole night?
Yeah, during the whole night. So these are all my uncles and aunts talking to one another. In the bottom right corner, what does it look like?
I mean, the first time I saw the shot, I was like, oh my god, maybe they are dead. You know?
Maybe they are dead too, yeah. So that's my oldest aunt and my mom in the bottom right corner. And to me, this is kind of perhaps a foreshadowing that one day my mom is also going to pass away. So once again, I didn't really think about that too much when I took the photograph, but often you feel in the meeting after you've taken the photograph. And for me personally, like just appreciating your loved ones while they're still around, I think is essentially the message. People ask, how was it like photographing your own grandfather's funeral? For me, I was actually very supportive. I was lucky I was very supportive for my family. And the only moment I was not allowed to take a photo was this moment where my uncle, who's looking at me straight in the center of the frame, says, Eric,
no,
do not take a photo. And the moment they're opening the lid, and then after that, they all started crying. And so sometimes it's important as a photographer to know that humans, emotions, tradition, ethics is more important than photography. So often knowing when to put away the camera is really important.
And leave the moment, yeah.
Exactly. To me, this was like a small little transitional image. Do you know what this is? Can you tell what it is?
Oh my god, what is it?
Yeah.
It's inside something.
Yep. What kind of car?
A limousine?
Funeral car. It's a hearse.
Wow.
So I looked into it and I was like, man, this is actually pretty pimp. Like my grandfather's going out in style. Like the two things on the left and right, they look like subwoofers to me. But to transition this image, so this is inside the hearse and this is outside the funeral car. So you could kind of see it's a very subtle transition that most people probably won't know, but I know. And this is an interesting tradition that Koreans believe in ancestor worship. So honoring the dead people, but at the same time we're Catholic. So it's kind of this weird mixing of traditions. So we all put fruit in front and people are bowing. Then we're walking to his funeral. And what do you think is like the cherry on top of this photo? A detail which is really strange a little bit.
The camera?
Yep. So kind of like the photo
And
yesterday.
This is the
Like
tribute to
the George Orwell.
1984.
1984, right? So, you know, kind of this weird feeling that they're marching his body up to their funeral site, and there's still people watching. People singing songs of detail. Then there's the men on the left, then women on the right. So you could kind of see how I sequence these images: men on the left, women on the right. And this is actually my mom, and you could see how emotional it is. Then I take a step back and there's a wide shot.
Wow.
So you could kind of see the cadence of the images, how there's a certain flow and rhythm to it. And now everyone looking at them.
Like in movies.
Yeah, like in a movie, exactly. Then a close-up on a detail shot of the shovel, which is a strong symbol. Another wide shot. This is actually a photo of my mom. When she was a child, this is in Busan, the southern part of the countryside in Korea. This is where she grew up in her family house. That's where it used to be.
Busan.
And my mother is like one of my the most influential people in my lives, who I love very dearly. And just to kind of have this nostalgic feeling of her. And one of the second to last photos is, of course, it's a very personal project to me, so why not have a selfie of myself? And so there's a photo of me with the camera.
That's nice.
And above me is a photo of my grandmother who passed away. Then you kind of have the Mary, the Jesuses, and the family portraits. Then the last photo. So what does this photo symbolize to you, or what do you think this says? That's the last photo.
There is something with so the sky, of course, the light, but also there is life again, like because when I see the flowers like in the tree,
Yep.
there is always
like hope.
hope and
Yep.
circle of life. You know, it's
Definitely. Ooh, Cindy A. Wynn. Great question. Could you also talk about how sequencing editing works on a digital online portfolio versus a book? Fantastic question.
oh my god.
Oh yeah. So
She's on
before
top of it.
transitioning to that, yeah, you guys are right. You guys leading comments. Old age is a cherry tree. It's kind of like, you know, kind of the cliche, but like with death also comes life. And I thought it was just like a beautiful testament. So Cindy, going back to Cindy's question. So generally, my suggestion in terms of editing sequencing images is when you're working on a set of images, what I like to do in Lightroom is put them onto a collection and then just drag around the images one by one to put them in different orders and sequences. And once you kind of find an edit or a sequence you like, exporting them by file number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Then putting it on, uploading to your website. A more analog approach, which I also recommend, is printing out your photos as small 4x6s and laying them on the ground. And the difference between digital portfolios versus paper books is that digital portfolios generally tend to be image by image. So, you know, most people are looking at the image full screen, single image, single image, single image.
Next.
Whereas with a real book, you have images on the left side of the page and also the right side of the page. So on the left side of the page, you could put one image which is similar to another image on the right side of the page.
Create like a mirror effect.
Kind of create a mirror effect. And
That's
for
true.
those kind of projects, I think the best is the analog approach, printing out 4x6s, throwing them on a table, and sometimes just randomly scattering them and asking your friends to come over and pair images. And sometimes randomness is a good way to create these by chance connections that you could never expect. And maybe one of the last projects I want to talk about is talking a little bit about something really, really dear to me. And I think this is going to be the project that I want people to remember me by. So it's called the Cindy Project. So Cindy's in the house. Do it actually be cool. Cindy, can you come over here? No, she don't want to come over? She don't want to come over? Okay, so Cindy A1 says, I've heard about the Cindy Project. So so now I think as an ending, I'm more interested nowadays in personal photography, photographing people who are personally meaningful to us. And it's photographing my loved ones and making them the subject. So I've been taking a lot of photos of Cindy, and she's been the subject of these photos. Cindy, can you tell us about, not only is it me taking photos, but it's like a creative collaboration that, you know, you've given me feedback on my photos and you've given feedback on the photos. So can you tell us a little bit about how it felt like to be, I guess, the main subject? What makes you feel comfortable? What makes you feel uncomfortable? Maybe you can sit down and put on the headphone too.
Okay, is this your breakdown?
Huh?
So Eric's gonna break dance in the back while I talk. Okay, so your question was how I feel being photographed for the Cindy project, right? I mean, honestly, at first I was pretty hesitant. Because I'm a pretty shy and introverted person, it took a lot for Eric to drag me over here. But at the same time, it's such an honor and a privilege to have someone document our life together. And it's not just about me, it's about our life and our love and our adventures together and sharing and creating stories together. I'm very much into storytelling, and Eric's an amazing storyteller. So oftentimes, I mean, I've been with Eric for over 10 years, so we've known each other for quite a while. So I've become more comfortable just being documented and seeing him document other people. At the same time, I think like the other question was about creative collaboration, right? So at times, like I think, you know, some of the photos are a bit more posed, or if the light's really good, I might signal out to Eric. But oftentimes it's just like little details, and most of the shots don't really actually make it into the final cut. I do have a rule that I want Eric to at least tell me if the photo is going to get released on the internet, so I know a piece of me is out there and I'm aware of it. I'm not filtering his images, but it's more for my own awareness and my own sense of control.
Yeah, and also how do you often when you're taking these photos, you kind of pose in a lot of these shots too. So is your awareness, because you're also you've done film in the past, you've also made photographs, and you're also quite creative. You know, are you very aware of how you're going to turn up in the photograph? And also when you're editing my photos, because when I was making this final edit, which we're about to show, Cindy was saying, oh, these are the photos that I like. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe how it feels like knowing what you're gonna look like, and sometimes you don't know, and also maybe what you could do for the viewers is scroll through these images and say why you decided to choose these images with me, because it's kind of a unique perspective, you know?
Right. Okay. So that's a good question. I mean, I think oftentimes I don't really know what the photo is going to look like, and sometimes it's an engagement. I look at the screen or the LCD screen. Other times I just let Eric do his thing and pretend he's not even there, and I'm just relaxing and doing my thing. Other times, I mean, I do tell him sometimes to stop, just when I'm like, I'm trying to have a conversation with you right now, or we're late, we need to get somewhere. So that happens quite a lot as well. So often, I mean, I think you always have your camera with you, and if anything, like being documented, being part of this project makes me just appreciate life and the little details more often, because I don't even notice like the beautiful light. For example, in this photo here, I didn't realize like what a kind of we were in Amsterdam, and I didn't realize like the beautiful light that was coming in as we were walking down. I'm sure we were late at this point because I'm a little bit pissed off in this photo. But I'm glad you capture that too.
You can flip through it and you could talk about the images.
All right. Okay, so the story behind this is this is just like, little everyday kind of routine things like getting gas and taking a stretch as we drive along the 5 freeway in California for 8 hours. And honestly, like if Eric didn't capture this, little moment of me taking a break while driving, I wouldn't have remembered the little detail of going to In-N-Out after that, or how beautiful the light was that day. And me multitasking and going on the phone and stretching or something. Do you want to go back to you?
Okay, yeah.
Please.
Okay,
These
Cindy
photos.
in the mix. Drop a beat now, Cindy.
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Cindy.
Let's all show some heart emoticons and some love for Cindy, who very greatly appreciated. Yeah, that was good. And then Elsie Finch says, "All I do is win, 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 no matter what." And then win was spelled Nguin because it's not Nagayan, it's actually win. Neil, that is actually Gareth's house, okay? So, yeah. And also in 10 minutes left with me, we're gonna transition to, is it Beetle Jace?
Jason, yeah. Beetle Jason.
Beetle Jason, oh nice.
Yeah.
And DJ Cutman in the mix.
Cutman.
Yeah. DJ Cutman in the mix. Ooh, Vincent, hey, Vincent's watching. What's up, Vincent? Rock on, Cindy. Hearts for Cindy. Oh, look at all the heart emoticons. Thank you. You guys are so amazing. Cindy's like smiling in the back. Okay. So to transition, the reason I started the Cindy project was when I was living in Berkeley, there's really not that many people walking around. It's kind of boring for the most part. And the takeaway point I want to make is when you're working on a photography project or something that's meaningful, photograph what's at hand. In life, we're all dealt a different. You play poker? Mm-hmm. So we're all dealt a different hand in poker in life, right? And the best poker players aren't the ones who always have 2 aces, right?
Yeah.
What do?
Oh, in this case, they bluff or they just pass or they just wait for the.
They make the best out of the hand they're dealt. So I think in photography and life, just make the best out of the hand you're dealt. So a lot of these photos were shot just in our apartment. So this is our apartment. Cindy taking a break, putting the eye mask on her head, and it's like a very personal moment for me, which I love. Neil said, it's a simple idea for a project and something I think we'll all sort of take ownership into our own lives with loved one. Well done, Eric. Thank you, Neil. And this photograph too. So how many cups of coffee do we have here?
4.
Yeah, so we drink a lot of coffee, and you guys will also notice like half of these photos are Cindy on her laptop because that's what real life is. Is that like we're watching some commercials on TV, like people waiting for somebody to come, and then the person's like sitting patiently waiting. It's like, no, in reality, someone's checking their cell phone and either checking Instagram or checking their email, right? So in today's day and age, Cindy's on her laptop feeling stressed out. This is a nice moment where we're just enjoying a nice tea, I think, this time. And there's nice sun coming through our bedroom window. We're just sitting on the couch. And she's just kind of covering her eye because it's too bright. And I'm like, oh, Cindy, can you actually move your hand? Because I love that one eye coming from the background. And then, Michael, you also chose this as one of the epic Adobe things.
Yeah,
What about the shot did you like?
I like because I was like, okay, I can move the arm
Yep.
and the shadow. That's what I wanted. I wanted to cover the other eye.
Yep.
So I really liked it.
Oh, for you guys who don't know, Cindy's mom is actually watching this live too. She's Kim Pham Real Estate. It's getting a lot hard. So if you need a house in Orange County, hit up Kim Pham Real Estate
I think
at
it's the right
gmail.com. Nice. So if you look at this photo, what does this look like as a viewer?
What does it look like? What do you mean?
I don't know.
Mm.
Sleeping. She's
Yeah.
waiting for you.
Some people are like, this looks like she's in like a hospice care or a bed, right? Like they got the wire.
with the wire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one thing I love is every single photo could be. It's really not my job as a photographer to impose my meaning on other people. I also like the idea that it could be open to interpretation to other people. So generally, that's why I don't put on these like cheesy captions like "Lost in Thought," which I used to do in the past. It's just like Berkeley 2016 #Cindy Project. And to me, we're sleeping out on the couch one night. We had the epic IKEA fold-out bed. These things are amazing.
Yeah.
And Cindy just kind of reached out. She's like, "Oh, Eric, you come to bed." And I just took a photo, didn't really think about it. But afterwards, looking at the photo, it's actually like, look at this, kind of makes me feel sad. Like, well, no, what if one day we're old and Cindy's in the hospice care and she's kind of reaching out to me. She's like, "Eric, help me out." But we made a tacit agreement that I'm not allowed to die before Cindy, because if I died before Cindy, she'd be devastated, and she'd have to live her life without me. So the rule is Cindy has to die before I do. So I guess that if I'm
nice
allowed to
rules,
die, I think I have to kill her.
Very healthy rules,
Yeah.
when you have.
Or she could do some more,
Couple.
or she could do street photography
Yeah,
with a
let's put some
flash,
rules.
and something bad might happen to her. Also, just kind of a nice moment, a nice gesture. I think she just looks quite beautiful here. And you could kind of see how I kind of sequenced this really close and really white background, then really far in the darkness. We stayed at our friend's house in Marseille, and just one little light and her coming out, looking into the light, and I just love the emptiness. And to me, this is a case where I like the empty negative space. One of the questions you guys asked was because you can see how the darkness is kind of enveloping her and the focus is just a little bit of light on her face. So this was done very intentionally. So I think in terms of distance in photography, either shoot really close or really far and try to make it a point. So this is also one of my favorite photos. Is sometimes I believe in beautiful mistakes. So photos that you'd intend to make a certain way, but by shooting a lot, you could make a nice coincidence. So we're just having dinner and there's some light above her, and I'm shooting with my Ricoh GR black and white mode, ISO 3200, 1600. And she's just kind of like scratching her face and moving around and stuff like that. And I'm just taking a bunch of photos of her moving. And actually, if you hear the blur, the slightly out of focus adds to the mood. And I like it how her arm is connected here and her eyes are kind of glazed over. I think it's a nice moment. Matt Mip says, "If you die before, I'll be glad to take care of Cindy." Cindy has a lot of fans, okay? Another one, us at the beach. Cindy just walking off into the darkness.
Oh.
So having a nice variety of images.
Where is it?
This was at the beach, a place in the middle of the coast. It's called Fort Bragg.
Okay.
Do you like this one?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I like because it doesn't look like a beach. That's what I like. It looks like lava, like what you would get in Iceland.
Oh. Okay, Hedel Jung
like.
says, "Midnight in Sweden logging out. Love you. So hopefully see you in 2017. Oh, thank you, Hedrick. Likes that beach photo. But what I also like about the photo, what makes it personal, is a little selfie in the bottom right corner. This is actually one of my favorite photos that I shot recently. So for those guys watching out there on the interwebs, what does this photo say to you in terms of emotion, the mood? What does this photo say to you, Michael?
I don't know. Like just watching this, it reminds me like Hitchcock movies, like Vertigo, or there is something like this. Like losing control or.
Yeah, losing control. Yeah, and the way that I took this photo was totally random. So me and Cindy were just we're eating lunch in Berkeley, and I had a cup of water and just taking 6 drinks out of the water. So imagine this is a glass of water. And while I'm taking a drink out of the water and Cindy's sitting across from me, I look through my glass and I see her through my glass cup. I'm like, oh my God, that might be an interesting photo. So I take my camera, I turn it on, and I'm focusing it through the glass. And I must have shot like at least 80 photos of her at different angles and perspectives, and asked her, and she was doing this hand gesture before, so I said, "Oh, Cindy, can you do the hand gesture of you with your hand above your head again?" And the distortion of the glass is what caused the photo to look so wonky, like one eye slightly bigger, her arms like stretched out. And also in terms of the emotion, Lava Rez says confusion. Sugar Bow says madness. Ooh, Lolly says madness again. Simon C. Jacobs. Oh, Simon, what's up, homeboy? Love you, bro. He says loves the shot. It feels like despair. Joshua says despair. Upset after a moment of self-reflection from Tacit Meow. And yeah, so to me, it's Cindy as an academic. I have a lot of respect for what she does, and she's constantly under stress and a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure. But throughout all these difficulties, she's able to overcome it, and that's what makes me love her. And I'm so proud of her. But once again, a reflection of that inner mood, and I feel like the hand gesture and the emotions what makes it powerful.
And Eric, in 2 minutes, it will be time for DJ Cutman. So
okay,
we should
2
go
minutes.
through
Yep.
this, Eric.
Okay, I think this is like the last one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Good timing.
Yeah, good timing.
I
So the last
Nice one.
photo.
It
So
sums up
for you
everything.
guys out there, just for me, once again, make your photos personal. One last tip I'll let you guys in on, whether this is your street photography, your personal photography, put yourself in your photos. Put little selfies of yourself because it'll immortalize you. Because right now, even though I look handsome and sharp, 90 years from now, I'm going to be pretty wrinkly. And so just having a little selfie of me at the gas station, Cindy looking out, it's a photo that just shows
Very
like
nice.
our hesitancy about the future looking out. And it could be shot anywhere, like at a gas station, her looking out. So just knowing that the most beautiful moments are in the special places. And so some last questions I'm going to ask. A cute dragon says, when is this photo shoot going to end? So using the same focal length or project, yes, highly recommend staying consistent with the same focal length. My personal focal lengths, I prefer 35 millimeters, nowadays 28 millimeters. And some last things we should announce. So to make sure that I don't forget anything, if you guys want to learn more about street photography, just Google Eric Kim blog. Check me up on my blog. Usually on social media, Instagram, Twitter, I'm just at Eric Kim Photo. And some things to promote. So thank you guys so much for watching this live podcast. And if you want to learn more about street photography in person, I have workshops coming up. Some in LA coming up with a few spots, some in Asia. And if you want to learn more in person, just Google Eric Kim Workshops. You'll find my schedule there.
And you have books.
And I have books. Oh yeah, this is really cool. So, maybe one of you guys could post a link to, or you could just look on Google. Just search Eric Kim ebooks for free, and you'll find free downloads to that. It's a great way to get started in street photography, and I love you guys, so I give away information for free. Go to my YouTube channel, Eric Kim Photography. Search for my composition lessons and also a bunch of other lectures I do. And the last announcement, this will make Cindy happy, so check out the new Henri strap. If you're in the States, go on Amazon.com, search Henri strap. It's Henri is spelled Henri strap. It's retailing for $79. It's sexy, it's cool, it's fashionable, and Cindy's put a lot of love and support on it. And also it directly supports me in terms of what I do. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
And last one, Lester
Awesome 2 days.
Comstra, any inspiration, suggestions besides photography? Yep. Reading books, films. I get my inspiration from watching a lot of movies, from hip hop music, from reading philosophy, psychology, cognitive science, history. Blanca Duban, all right, pleasure, goodbye. Thanks to Adobe, thanks Sugar Bow, thanks, thanks Evil Panda Poo, Joshua, Dan 10, MT Easy, thank you Eric, rock on, and should I end this? Should I end this with a freestyle or
yeah, sure.
breakdance? What should I do?
Of course.
Cindy, what should I do?
Freestyle or breakdance?
Whatever. What do you guys want to hear?
Like freestyle?
Freestyle.
You want a freestyle? All right, you gotta put on a sick beat though. All right, and I'll come to Brazil one day. Put on a different beat. I don't like this one. Wait, where's DJ Cutman? Is he in the house? I'm finding DJ Cutman. He's not here yet. No, not this one. Oh, this is pretty good. Yo, I floss, dipping sauce. Watch me as I go in my cruiser, cause I be like, I'm not a loser. Oh no, I'm so bad. No, this is so hard. Wait, let me go again. Chill in the bay, watch me go with my homeboy Kim Kardashian, cause I be blasting these fools left and right. I wanna fight. Watch me as I get on my level, cause I be with the bass and treble. Bass, boom, go. Watch out of the room. I'm with Adobe in SF. Watch me as I spit my breath. I am so bad, I don't know, but I'm gonna start breakdancing because I'm better at that. Oh! Wait, one last breakdance move. One last breakdance move. Go for it.
Breakdance.
All right, here we go. Backflips. Okay, let's see what moves can And I'm out.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, now it's time for DJ Cutman. Stay with us, guys.